I blow big stacks. Golly. Hit me in my protons, baby. My teeth got that black stuff on them. I ate some what's the stuff called? Oh yeah, what is it? So I can say this right. Yes, Silajat. Just get a little mental clarity as I chop it up. So good evening or guten morning. This is the Chocolate Mountain Show. I'm your host, 8 Wind, and I am timeless. Or you might know me as Time Lord and the last Time Walker, the only Time Walker other than my children. Maybe I shouldn't even get that part out. I am the holder of the continuous ball game created by the Hero Twins. I am the Galactic Daddy-O, sitting on my galactic patio from Minnesota to the universe. And tonight's special commercial is Great Lakes Conway's Irish Ale. And this is 6.3, so it's got a little kick to it. See, now to get the higher gravity, like it's showing you the IPUs, to get the higher gravity, to raise the alcohol level, most of the stronger beers are IPAs, the bitters, which I don't mind. I like the hazies a little better. So pop them if you got them, drink them if you want them, blow big stacks. And I want to get into it. And I want to make a public service announcement. Last night I was listening to my brother, and he echoed a part of some things that I said. He kind of echoed far as like an opinion, and he was talking about Aleister Crowley. And I'll be the first to admit the only part of him I really studied is the Hollywood stuff. And I've studied a little bit of when he went into the pyramid. I understand how they use that, so I understand that part of it. But that's it. And so I was talking to Crazy Sarge, and Crazy Sarge was saying, like, you know, I know a little bit more about this, that you're not really telling the whole story. And what I would say is I said to him earlier, and I say to anyone, the thing about correct debate and correct intaking, where you can still hear me, is sharing the knowledge. And so it's never anyone should feel that they can't add. So anyone can add to the story. So my thing is, and when I'm one of the few cats that try to tell the whole story, because some people just tell you part of it. They don't tell you all of it. And so if there's a part I'm missing, anyone feel free. And I told that to Crazy Sarge earlier, you know, feel free to add. What do I say? You know, the thing is my role is like, is not really to really teach anyone. It's for you to really teach yourself. And it never comes a point in your life where you still can't be the student of new information. I mean, if you go and feel vibrations, it's new vibrations constantly. You know, somebody could be around you and give you a different vibration. So, but Lorenzo, thank you. Bliss to you. Hey, Derek, that's right. The hero. Oh, yes. And I'm going to let that out too. So, like, if you really want to know, like, they try to tell you what Titans are. Well, imagine, and they want to tell you that the world was so foresty and the oxygen levels was so great that these animals got so huge. What was it? East of Eden, I think, is the book to read by the Cosmos Cats. And he tells you what happened to the dinosaur-like things. He kind of even shows you a picture that they kind of was defeated. But getting back to, so if you get into the hero twins' father and uncle, again, brothers, they're playing the game, the continuous ball game, and they are making so much noise that people in inner earth can hear them. So what kind of size do you think these people would have been that they can rumble the earth enough where the inner gods can hear this? I mean, really, the Papa Vol tell you about the stick people, where trees have people, and they ain't all, they tell you they all got killed. They ain't all get killed. It's still, that's why they tell you the talking trees, the walking trees. That thing didn't get completely killed out. They make you believe it did, but it didn't. And so that's something to ponder. Hey, Crazy Sarge, always was nice talking to you. Ray Vaughn, what's happening? Hey, King Kane. Yeah, we can get into that too, because been talking to PJ, and if it wasn't for the hockey game, I would have lost, because I took the 4 and I took the 212. That was a mistake. I took the 4 points in the 212. Let's get into it. Sebastian, what's happening? Let me see. Did I miss somebody? Yeah, Sebastian, salute to you. Hey, Edward, thank you for joining me. Elrod Hubbard, you know, I really think the thing about Elrod Hubbard was he was looking for anybody to teach him how to scam better. And he was trying to scam out of religion and spirituality. So I think he was looking to see what the best he could scam, and that ain't trying to defend anybody. But if you look at L. Ron Hubbard, what he was, that's what he was all about. The ancient ones caused the meteor shower to destroy the dinosaurs. I don't think it was that many dinosaurs, if at all. There's a powerful mystic group of Tibetan shaman warrior marks who are guardians of the inner earth. Oh, interesting. What do you think about the track chick bombing her drug test? Sounds like a humiliation thing. What I don't understand is like which one, because the way they do track, especially at those meets, they get tested before they run, and then they get tested right after. So I'm like, which test? So like she took them tests and she was okay, because they don't let you just run in that kind of stuff. Olympic trials, they testing you too. So you're telling me in a 3-week span, she just said, fuck it, and let's get high. Like her will just like folded and that quick. She did the Josh Gordon. You know, you got to escape to go find somebody to get your weed. Like the weed is like cocaine. That's what they want you to believe, Josh Gordon. So I mean, I'm not defending, but I'm saying this doesn't make sense. Which test? Like, did she flunk the test right after qualifying? Or before even to go to qualify? Did she flunk any of them tests? I mean, this chick has to been tested every month. I mean, it's no way. I mean, multiple times she's had to been tested because they've been running coming up to the Olympic trials. They've been running all. So I'm not understanding. How didn't any of them tests? So you're telling me everything she done waited for the last 4 years, in 3 weeks, all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh. Now I know Ben Wilson from the Olympics in '88, I think, when he ran that 8 something, the time still ain't matched. They want you to believe that was him too. You know, we know he got hurt. So and then that could have been put out there as well. So she got Michael Phelps. So that, you know, the one that's what I'm not understanding. It's like, because when I first read that, I was like, how is that? Did she pass a couple weeks ago? What was the trials? 10 days ago or less? What was the trials? 7-8 days? I don't even think it was full 2 weeks. This weekend would be a full 2 weeks. It wasn't last weekend, it was the weekend before, or the week before. So I don't get that. That I don't know. It just doesn't sound like, again, why didn't she flunk them tests? That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that she took a bunch of tests and she flunked all of them. So the government prosecuted the Church of Scientology for fraud. Son-in-law is a witness to this. Yeah. Well, yeah, he got a bunch of, he was a grifter. I mean, there's an HBO movie where the dude who played Truman Capote, that OD played him. And you could see, you know, that's why I say his thing with Crowley, he saw a way to try to steal, but he thought he could do it spiritually. But he saw how the system moved too. I'll get that to him. And that's why they was able to go right back into the system, because he saw the way the system moves. So he learned what he needed to learn. Told you the Suns into the finals, Suns versus Bucks, collapse of the dollar symbol, the rise of digital currency. Yeah, Suns in 4. Yeah, David, I took a beating in that. I lost in the over and under. I took the 212, and I took the points, but I won in hockey, so that made up for it, because I trusted hockey more than I trusted the games. There are warrior monks. How do you meet them? Well, that's a good thing, and I guess I'll take a few minutes getting off the game, and I'll get back to the game. Okay, the best way to start is like this. So, like, the Nazis was in Tibet looking for, you know, trying to find a singing bowl. Let's give, for example. So the Nazis is, you know, they trying to find this, and they want to kill all the monks that can use this. So the Nazis go into this one, I forget where monks hang out, whatever that's called. So the Nazis go up into there, but the thing had a spiral to get up to it. So the Nazis had the spiral to get to them. And these cats basically was able to, what was it? Predator, you know, where you can cloak. These cats could cloak, and the Nazis had no idea where they were. Not only bring that up is that kind of discipline and science that you're trying to pull in. So if that was like these bowls is a great way, you could even use these sounds to kind of get into a part of that too. But you have to understand, like a little bit of Doctor Strange, not so much, but the discipline it would take over the long periods to even start hitting that. And not to say it's not attainable, but it would take a lot of discipline on vibrating high enough. So, but back to the game. So, what did we see with the Pacers game? What did we see with the Clippers? First game, Kawhi out, they were saying the same thing, that Dallas was going to beat the Clippers, and there George had a good game. Reggie Jackson had a good game. Now you have to know, when you're looking at Holiday's not a number. Holiday's a number 3 if Giannis in there. Let's say it what it is. He's a 3-4. And as I was telling PJ, this is what's not believable about the game today. Tucker is the same as Ben Simmons, other than Tucker will shoot, but not really. Tucker don't really shoot. He's not an asset on offense. He's not an asset at offense. Tucker only 6'5", 6'6" at most. So you want us to believe that a number 3 and a number 2/number 1, these 3 people, and them and Lopez, who's the 4th option. Now, do you see? Okay, this is the biggest tell of the game is Lopez. Now, so you saying that a team? Okay, let me break it down like this. You take Trae Young out, and that's speed on pushing the ball up, of course. But they got what is his name? Their backup, Doan, the dude that used to play with the Timberwolves, for Villanova maybe. He can push it up. No, he's not as explosive, but fires with all them dudes pushing the ball up, he can still do that. So all of a sudden they play setup ball. That's what they played tonight, setup ball. We're not going to run. We're going to let these big dudes who can going to out-rebound us, kill us on the boards, which is not to our advantage. We are not pushing up and down, because I first saw that with Kobe and Gasol. Like when Kobe and them won that first year, I was like, okay. But the next year, when you saw the pace pick up, Gasol was a liability on defense, because when they transitioned fast, he was trailing. And so this is the same kind of thing we saw how Atlanta was playing. They moving up and down. I mean, when you build a team, okay, you see you're going to fall off there. You know Lou Williams ain't really a 1. He ain't really a 1. He a straight up 2. So that was telling you right there. Lou Williams ain't pushing it up and down like that. So when they put him in that position, you got to kind of laugh and say, okay, they're not trying to push the ball up. Dohan, is that his name? Chris Dohan. He was a first-round pick. He bounced around the league. But my point is he's young enough. And no, he doesn't have young skills, but he has the ability to push the ball and set up them spot up shooters. They didn't do that. They played slow ball. Portis is another one. When you got Tucker and Portis and Lopez in there, they slow as hell transitioning. So why would you play a slow paced game? Why ain't you pressing all over? So you looked at it, and that's how they do the Globetrotter games. You know, the Washington Generals will play just good enough to lose. Is the path of the peaceful warrior monk. Peaceful warrior is my medicine name. So Tibetan warrior monks, Shaolin monks, Wuntang, Taos monks, my spiritual family. Yeah, so it can be tapped into. I will meet them and be trained by them, help with saving the world. Yeah, you really could, but don't save the world, save yourself. Because you can be a guide and save yourself still. Remember that. So save yourself. It's over to save the world. It really is. I would say of all the energy and all the notes that was given to me, you know, when to start my path and to say, you know, I'm like, what is this all about? What am I doing here? And that's how what they call not the Acons, the Archons. You know, they'll hit you with, you know, you here to save the world. Okay, that makes sense for a while, but then when you see the world that can't be saved, your mindset has to change. And Kenneth Gamble, he was the first to hit me to that. He's like, that's what they're gonna hit you with. It's like, you know, not you. they're going to hit you with to try to save it all. And that becomes a big bag. You know, that's the Atlas thing. You know, you put the world on your shoulders. You don't want that big bag. So it's just you. That's why bag is your tricks, not the whole world, right? You know, your bag is your tricks. You know, the bag. You know, when you see a lot of the food card, the food's carrying a bag. He got all this shit up in here. And you look at some cards, the food's got a bag. So it's you know, come out of my bag. That used to be a saying. You don't want me to come out of my bag, or you taking me out of my bag, baby. You know, that ain't my bag, honey. You know. So, but that's spiritually how you move that. Reading. Here we go. Oh, thank you, Teo Ching La Z. I think different translators. Way of the Peaceful Warrior, Mailman, and Body Mind Mastery. Thank you, Edward. That is so kind. Hey, Laquan. Oh, peace back to you. Thank you. Yes, definitely moving positive energy. Thank you. Hey, Anise. If I haven't said what's happening, thank you for joining me. The first step to save your reality is self-actualization, freedom from ignorance and illusion, salvation, enlightenment. And that's funny. Hey, Unique Breed, thank you for joining me. Because I think, you know, like when you meditate, one of the first kind of tricks is to bring in illusion. And I get caught in that too. You know, it makes you want to think about the past or something you need to change, you know, or just something check out. And that's not moving, you know, that's not moving. And so like when you meditate, you got to push all that illusion out too. So it's just you. And it don't matter if you use a substance or it's just you. Like this, she legit. You could literally put it in something as long as you get to break up, and you could drink this stuff, and it would kind of open up, almost mushroomy like. So, because I'll say the benefit definitely is it's pushing me a little further. Because you know I carry this stuff too, and this stuff, you know, it will take you very far. Something my son said, they'll give you that foresight too. Because you know we got to consider fate. The attack of free will and foresight, and how each of these play into how we manifest. And I'll say this stuff over and over again. Life is this too. Give you a prime example. So I get gas, and I had to go to my opposite door. There's a way I always approach my car. I mean, I know the way to approach it. And so instead of me being on the, because my gas tank is on the passenger side. So instead of me just going through the passenger to the tank, when really I dealt with the door, I just looked at it. Because at first, that's what I was about to do. I was right there, just walk to the back, grab my glove, pump my gas. But I just looked at the path, and the path said, no, I had to turn around, walk around the truck, and approach it like I always do. And this is how it should flow with everyone. Everyone should feel like this. You should see a clear way that it is. I mean, the path is laid out. Like everything you do, it's pretty much laid out, and that goes into the fates. It's laid out. Really is. Like I say, you can go to any war, and you can, if you could piggyback and stay in the shadow of a person, you would see how certain people, almost every war survived. I mean, think of some of the old days. These motherfuckers is fighting with swords and spears all around. What are the odds of you sawing and spearing and swording and chopping off limbs and stabbing in the face, knocking dudes down, kicking them, biting them? But there's a way to do it. But it just doesn't apply to that. It applies to everyday life, everything we do. You can almost feel the way it's pulling you. And I'm not saying that there's demons pulling you. No. You can see, once you connect so much to it, you can see how it's like almost like a guide almost. It really is. And I mentioned before, driving, the energy of driving. Nothing in this system is this system more than driving. And that's, again, it's a thing where everybody could kill themselves. But when something feeds and wants to feed, and it depends on things moving to feed, can't let everybody die. So, Hey, homie, thank you for joining. She saw that clip where Atlanta was up 3-2 on Philly, and during the Bucks Nets game, the announcer said, "Winner plays Hawks." Then he started laughing because he knew I accidentally exposed the script. Yeah, I saw a couple people exposing that. Yep, good catch. You and your bag are one and the same. Constant reality. It is because that's like the magic you obtain. You pretty much like when they show you Marvel and they show some of these people sometimes and they have to like with the ring, Green Lantern has to have a ring to do that, but in reality is like he is in him to do it. He just enhances what the ring can do. So it's really in him. It's almost like if you look at it as a crystal, the ring ain't nothing but a modified type of crystal. That's why I say when you're dealing with diamonds, you're talking about an expander. And that's the point. It's expanding something he can already do. Meditation Sword that Cuts Down the Illusion of Mind, the Book of the Warrior by Dan Malin. Good, thank you. Herschel, thank you for joining you. Oh, no problem. The Cloud of Mind Sees Nothing, movie The Shadow. Good share. Have you been to Africa? No, I have not. I have not been to Africa, Unique Breed. You've been to Mali? Okay. I've dated several African women. It's funny, they seem to be attracted to me. And so, I've dated some nice sisters. Over like really dedicated Christians, I'll say that. Like some of the African women I've dated, you kind of like just really be with them and go to church and stuff. They be cool. Like if you really practice it or not, if you just support them and go to church and be with them, they're kind of easy to get along with sometimes, And I'm not, I understand. I understand that dynamic. That it's good for a single woman to have a man behind him or next to him when she worships. And so I understand that. And I have really no problem with supporting people. If I get invited to go to a wedding, it's in the church, but you think I'm like, oh. But that's a good Unique Breed. That's a good experience for you. But I have not. Zendification, effortless, intuitive, spontaneous flow and action, ties on well-doing, something by doing nothing. That's kind of it too. That's kind of it too, y'all. It's kind of it too. Getting something for doing nothing. That's it. I mean, that's a story that goes into the Hero Twins where they trick the insects to the monkeys. First, they trick the monkeys into doing their work, and then they turn around and then trick the rest of the animals to do their work. And then another time, they trick the insects and birds to do their work. But it just tells you it's not the command really over nature. It's really working for nature to do your will. Because everything it was showing them do, they naturally would do anyway. On how they dealt with the land. So that was kind of the undertone of what it was trying to tell you. They're not really getting them to do anything they normally would do. So Papa Gauss is pretty deep in some ways. And to be the God that's name was not right now, that's a great God. He could always put him off. Taoism. Definitions, the way of simplicity. Thank you. Your thoughts tonight. I'm not hating, just slaying. There you go. No, I'm not. You don't bother me, Edward. Put your knowing out there. I'm for anybody to put their knowing out there. So Edward's fine. Hell, Edward's been on this show, and he was on the show that they canceled before. So Edward hit me with some singing, y'all. He hit me with some singing. It's like, hey, he was feeling it. I had to put it out. Sometimes I feel like singing, so I put it out there. Hey, is it more summer than this shirt? I saw this shirt. I said, this is a shirt that you would wear with some white shorts, because I bought white shorts with it, and you would wear some white, them like boat shoes. You wear the white boat shoes. Doesn't it say that shit? This is like, yeah, he's about to be on the boats and shit. But $6 shirts is hard to turn down, baby. And these is the Miami colors too. My Miami Vice, they was wearing this kind of shit, and the buildings be this color. Who's the next guest? That's a good question. I'll tell you who I'm really, and I want to hype her up. There's a young lady I connected with that is doing a hell of work in San Diego. And those of you that know San Diego and just California in general, what they doing to young brothers to put them in jail, put them on paper. She is a champion for this. And the city of San Diego just passed legislature to stop the gang units. Now, I've talked about that here, where they had to literally shut these motherfuckers down here because the way they were stealing and doing illegal activities, stealing money, but stealing had the legal to steal. She's helped pass some of these laws that they got to stop that kind of behavior. And so I waited for school to get out. So more than likely, she'll be the next guest. I'll try to get her to come on. I talked to the Awakened one. And this is the thing where, like, with me and her, this is the thing. She charges for what she does. And she's been on here 2 or 3 times. And she basically charges for what she does. Now, and so for me, that's a thin line to cross because what she does has value. Now, I've said many times, us to come on here and do this, but this is like you hear all this, but like this is a minimum of what I really do, as far as my full abilities and what I spend my time doing, if you understand, and how I'm trying to, bring abundance to me and my family and my children, if you understand. And so for her to do it without that kind of commitment, in some ways, it's not fair to her. It's really not. And that's why I was saying is like, when you have to answer a question, I wasn't feeling that like I heard a lot of people answering, but I just wasn't feeling the energy on really connecting with the questions. Because the way communication, even spiritually, goes, you have to have really a kind of commitment in the question. So just asking a question, there's really no commitment in it. And so that's where, I just, there's value in what she does. And so, and that's been all my thing with it. It's like, I felt like it was kind of taking advantage of her in some ways. And that's not putting anybody down, but just, she has a gift and her gift has worth. And so she was good enough to join me and do that. But after a couple of times, I mean, there's people like when I do these singing bowls, there are people just killing it, doing these singing bowls. I mean, really killing it, where people are really supporting and stuff. So for me, I don't care. That's that don't really matter to me. I'm gonna come get the information I give. But for her, that's kind of her thing. She does have her own thing where clients and stuff, because that's really what she's looking for is getting clients. But the young lady, for sure from California, she has a lot of children. She'd be on vacation, but I think she's going to get me in. So she'll probably be the next person. I tell you, I have a friend on Facebook that is a commercial actress, and I've been messing with her, and she's on vacation too. I think she's in Hawaii. But just to show, because she's mostly just a commercial actress. Matter of fact, like pictures and stuff actress. Very beautiful. You've seen her before. But been messing with her a little bit, trying to see if I can get her to come. So it's always messing with people. That's all. So it's not that I and James, gosh, I got to get James on here. So he'll probably, that's somebody I should, because he's doing Facebook every day and he's doing this YouTube thing. And so he puts information, and he called me and told me happy birthday. So maybe I'll call him tomorrow, because he wants to do early. He'll do early. And let me look my phone up, because I've had James on the other channel. Excuse me. My thing with didn't work. My thing with names and shit. But I'll get in contact with him. He'll probably do early. And I wanted to take the remote equipment. I got a little more remote equipment I want to take and put out and see if I can go somewhere remote, maybe even the lake. I live on the lake, or live near the lake, and get about the energy for that. All right, takes care of that. Something. Okay, here we go. And looking up stuff is hard. You know that. I'll be seeing this shit. But I just want to say it's James Branch. Yeah, brother James. James Branch. So check his stuff out. He's passionate. He's about my brother's age. He's about 55. And military. Indigenous person too. So hey, all biz. Thank you for joining. How do you deal with finding out your girlfriend is an escort? Hmm. I don't know. I mean, I can answer your question. I just got the feeling you trolling. So, but I'll answer that. She should be working for you, or you should be involved in it. So, if you're not involved in it, where's your pimping at? I mean, if that's her thing, you should be involved in it. I ain't saying you got to sit in the room, nah, but you should have a part in it. It should be uplifting both of y'all lives. So, and is you the kind of dude that can handle that? I mean, everybody ain't cut out for pimping, especially that type of pimping. Most dudes, because when you start, and I've had mostly women come to me. When I was younger, mostly women would come to me. They was already doing that kind of thing. But first, how did you find out? But my point was getting back to it is like dudes that really get into it. These was they women at one time, and most dudes are too connected, clingy, that it's hard for them. They couldn't do that. It's like the $1 million for just one day. You know, dude, mind be racing like he turning her out, flipping her around. I mean, that's really what that movie showed you. You know, with a dude just one day for $1 million. That's what his mind was going crazy, and most dudes couldn't do it. That kind of thinking, that kind of creating these stories about the shit. So if you're not trolling, that's how. If you ain't involved, you know, she might not be for you. If it ain't enhancing your life, and if she is your girlfriend, what is you getting out of it? Because that's the kind of thing where it should enhance your life, not just hers. If she's your girlfriend. Different religions are different clothing styles. Panel the source. Escorts are honest. Business women, gold diggers are fakers of the game. Ratchets. What do you know if Dr. Mitchell E. Gibson in the Order of the Red Dragon, his theory on making the sun blink is interesting? I don't really know that. I'll look that up. Offhand, I haven't heard that. But I am open to checking it out. Making the sun blink, huh? Because that ain't the sun up there now. Doesn't appear. So does he know like when the real sun gonna show up again? Because that's a simulator up there now, pretty sure. I mean, it's not that you can't get downloads. And with the simulators, you got to bust through the simulator. So I would like to understand like what making it blink, how does that really help you? Like, is a way like when it blink and you go through it when it blink, and that's how you can go into the real space? Is it that approach? So no, I don't. But that sounds interesting. I'll check it out. Select men are the men that are instinctively approached by women. There you go. She was far too out there. Apparently, she was already that. Found out she was. Oh, okay. Well, that's something you probably don't want to deal with then. You know, move on from it. Move on from it. Why put the misery? Why put the misery? If she ratchet, then that should have answered your question right there. Because if she ratchet, there's all kind of things that could come with that, especially drug abuse. She's been abused. Don't let her abuse you. So it's yeah. If those negative things is out there, then yeah, cut her out. Cut her out and find somebody new. I mean, all relationships is like a river. I mean, you catch somebody, and when it's done, you throw them back, or they throw you back. It's really that simple. Oh, somebody showed you the everything. The sun blinking is your solar plexus and third eyes resonating due to sun worship, sun gazing. Okay, Edward, thank you. You were shown the evidence. Wow. Okay. That's a hell of evidence to bust on somebody. Like, here you go. That's some private eye shit. Like, here you go. But I understand. I understand and move on from it. Move on. Ah. But I can feel that, Edward. I do a lot of gazing myself, especially this time of year when the days are still fairly long. I mean, even though we're on the solstice, it's technically 4 o'clock. You hearing the birds chirping because they know the sun ain't too far from coming. You heard the nature activity of the approaching sun pretty early. So it's still a lot of sun, long days. But we're now a couple more weeks. We'll be in the running sun. Like in May, you see the sun up there, and it's just up there. But once it starts running, like the evenings, it moves a little faster, and you see the evenings getting shorter, especially we get into September, and ready for the time change. So, uh, have you ever do I woke ayahuascas? I have not, Herschel. I have not tried that. I have not tried it. No. The solar plexus is the sun that blinking means resonates and vibrates. I practice sun worship and sun gazing and sunset. The Ra, I'm in Ra. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Excuse me. Oh, thank you, Anise. Thank you for pushing that kind of energy out there. That takes some effort, so it is appreciated. And it's like still, it's funny, like especially how you download information and connect it to all these gadgets, all these screens. The my is everywhere with us. I mean, was the my's greatest feat. They're talking about what was the devil's greatest trick is making you think he doesn't exist. No, it is this. This is the greatest trick that the devil did. Is these. This is the smartest thing the beast ever showed you. Because it does give a lot. It does give a lot, but it's with you. And it's with you just like any drug try to take a young person off. That's that kind of drug. And they showed movies and stuff where these young people trip out. What do you mean you're going to take my phone? And they go crazy. They'll be looking down, like they're in the kind of looking at the phone. They'll trip out. They literally will trip out. I'm sorry I said that wrong. Have you ever done ayahuasca? My text. No, I have not. Explain what that is. Arkansas, spelled backwards. No, I have not. I have not. Thank you, Edward. Ra spelled backwards. Yes, Iraq. Oh, okay, I got you. No, I've never tried that. Explain to me what that is. What is that? What that is? What that is? Hell yeah, what that is? Oh, that was some such straight up North Carolina kind of. Uh, what that is? That's funny. I made it funny, y'all. I made it funny. Addiction to internet surfing on phones, tablet, laptops, the new powerful drug. There you go. It is. It is. It's a very powerful drug. It's a very it's a hook. It's a hook like no other, especially young people. Now people walk and they're like content with walking. Before it wasn't just the headphones in your ear. No, you can visually watch your TV while you walk. It's like people didn't get when I made that copy of the cricket commercial and the mother not being the parent. The phone is the parent. The mother is performing in front of the phone, ignoring the child. It is more important for her to perform in front of the phone than parent her child. That was my point. And that's this kind of society. Like even on this thing, when you see these families, you see families using their children to move through this because there is a market for that. Catering to children, the children's market. They show you that the children's market is giving people $20 million a year. That's what they tell you. That the children's market out there, well, you put your children a few years through this shit, you're buying big houses. That is what they're trying to show you. Like the little boy that was just opening the packages from when he was little to older. And this is all he does. There's that much interest. So we know that's not real. That's not generic. Is a South psychoactive brew used both socially and a ceremonial spiritual medicine among the indigenous people of the Amazon basin. Okay. No, I haven't tried it. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I understand DMT. And again, DMT ain't got nothing on acid, especially snowflake acid. DMT ain't got nothing on that. Albert Pike was one of the main key players that laid the Occult foundation in Arkansas. His approach that Arkansas take capital without his name shown. Wow. Hey, Reese, thank you for joining me. Well, Pike, was working with the Confederates. He was working with the indigenous people. That's the lie they want. That's the stupidest shit about Juneteenth, is making you think these was indigenous people fighting the Northerners, where it wasn't as many indigenous people. So everybody in this chat, some deep philosophical shit. I wish I could contribute in some way, but the only thing I can do tonight is listen and learn. Well, if you get a little bit, that's all. Thank you. But yes, Reese, peace to you. So kind. Thank you for joining. That's why all these people trying to say about the Jesuit and the Jesuits. The Jesuits got defeated by Napoleon. Okay, here we go. Look this up. Napoleon didn't get crowned by the Catholic Church. The Jesuits didn't crown Napoleon. So you can say that the Illuminati, whoever, when the Pope went to put that shit on Napoleon, he grabbed that shit from him and he crowned himself because he had defeated them. So I don't want to hear this Jesuit stuff that everybody's throwing out there. The army don't control the world. It's the people behind the army. The Jesuits is the army. They the CIA. So it's misleading. So I don't care what they say, that's misleading. Who really controls things? It's been the same enemy always. It's always been the same thing throughout history. Ain't nothing new. The wicked people have been the same wicked people forever. Ain't nothing new. You look at where wickedness comes from. It ain't nothing new. Occult ain't wickedness. It can be used for that, but in itself, nature using stuff is not wicked in itself. They try to hide behind it, knowing it ain't really their stuff, so they hide behind it, trying to say that's the angle it's coming from, but there's nothing could be further from the truth. It's the same wickedness that's always been there. So that's not going away. That's why the Jesuits' power centers are their universities in America. Definitely. Even their connection to sports. The people who run basketball have always run basketball from the very beginning. I mean, it was their leagues. And they saw the long-term thing. They generally let other people join. They saw the long-term planning of it. I mean, like, look at what the Negro Leagues really had left. They had 7 teams. Why didn't the 7 teams not go into both leagues? That's the way I looked at it. You had 7 teams. Say you could have just took 4. 2 win American League, 2 win the National League. You wouldn't have had to let Jackie and just sprinkle them. Why didn't they just absorb teams? Now they just absorb the records, which is basically the same thing. But why didn't they absorb them teams? They were so against them joining. They didn't mind playing against them in the barnstorming games. And if you watch Bingo Long and the Traveling All-Stars, these teams went from city to city to play against the semi-pro teams because every city had semi-pros. Every city had semi-pro players. Again, pro is the following. If you pay for the field and you pay for the umpire, that's pro. Don't mean you get paid. No, if you fill those two things out, that is considered pro level. Schools own their properties. Little leagues are associations. You make your child a part of that association. Set up different. So that's why our definitions of one choices intentions. What do you think about the crypto and the fact that most of it occult symbols for money and domination of the new world? Well, again, the word occult tied to that is kind of a misnomer. I mean, they try to use these signs. I mean, look at what they did, what they call the SWAT sticker. I mean, they try to use all these signs to say they theirs. I mean, most people, when they see the SWAT sticker, they think it's the Aryan. I mean, the gang Aryans. Like they own that energy. You go to India, you see dudes with SWAT stickers tatted on them. They ain't got no tie into them, and they more the Indian people is the Aryans, if you didn't know. So, but that's my point. My point is they are trying to use something that they don't really own, and that's how they've been from the very beginning. Like they would try to take stuff, and despite the right intention using it for the good, they would try to take something like this and use it for war. That's the point. Anything you find, you try to use it for war and domination. That's how they move. That's how they move. And it's locks, it's hooks, all those kind of things too. I mean, I think people don't really pay attention to hooks. But it's locks and hooks. Money, oh money. You see how they try to get that shit twirling in your head? They try to stress you to death about this shit. They try to stress you to death about this shit. And what did they say in Hamburger Hill? Don't mean nothing, not a thing. Occult and a direct and intuitive link to the source. Religion manipulative game of dealing with the source, wasting time and picking locks. The source. Picking locks. Saying getting the keys. That's a good point. That is a good point. And it's just being happy where what level of it you are at. And like really, like when I use Shawrite and even Apatite, like the cool thing about Shawrite is it gets you in that state of mind to always focus on the right study, focus on the right information bringing in. It's like when you harmonize, it's like you already have good intentions and good energy, but as you harmonize, you have these filters with the Shugite in the left and you got the Shawrite in the right, and so it's going to give you that deep purple, of course, but it's also both filtering. So nothing but good intention stuff is going to be flowing into you. And so it's that kind of like find those kind of motivations is my point. And stones ain't the only thing. Like we was talking about couples and stuff. If you have a person that she's beside you or he's beside you that can like just put these little things in your ears that's positive. Like my son, they was out bullshitting earlier and he was like, can't you say something positive to us? And that was a good point. That was a good point. It was like, okay, we know we grown motherfuckers, but say something positive to us. Okay, I understood. And so that's kind of how energy should just move. So it's not all the time something like this. It can be a flesh and blood person that's like, or even just locked in arms. So, so when you got the sun to blink, did it open a portal of the 5 dimension like he claims? Edward could answer that question. I mean, I'll tell you this though. I'll say this, Herschel. Dimensional thing is a hard thing to really comprehend, especially beyond this. Like when people say 5th dimension, I don't know. A lot of it sounds like aether work. Like even, okay, one of the dimensions, some people don't represent this or can't even tap in it is the dimension of time. Some people say that's the 4th dimension, but time has its own dimension. Everybody can't really tap into that. Like flat plane is really a 2-dimensional kind of idea built on illusion. And people don't want to start there. People don't want to start there. They want to say that this thing is flat, but they don't want to start from the premise of what does the existence say? Do it say 2D or does it say 3D? Because flat plane would be 2D. There's no way to get around it. You're saying we live in a flat plane of existence, you've got to start there. And none of them start there. They say, well, it's this way already, but it's flat. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's like you're skipping steps. So when you say, did it open these dimensions up? That's like even the 1st dimension. What is the 1st dimension? And when people talk about they done went to, like a lot of people would say the 5th dimension, and I'm gonna tease the Waken one because she was always saying, to see the Placidians, you really had to vibrate in true fifth dimension. And I could follow where she's thinking, but from a practical standpoint, even that would be making it simplistic. That would be a simplistic way of looking at it in some ways. Because beyond this, it gets beyond this. You can't even imagine some of this stuff. So if you can't imagine something, how can you ever bring it in? I mean, you're talking about something you're really hearing from somebody else. And how would you bring it in? How would you imagine it? Like that's the thing is that I'm one of the best in the world at is I can, if you telling it, I can live it while you tell it. I can experience while you telling it to see. I'm probably the best in the world at that. You tell me some shit, I'm putting that shit together like Tesla could do with a machine. You telling me there's this experience, I can sit there and see right as you tell it. I can see what I see it as a story underneath what the fuck you talking about. Or later I sit there and sit with it, and or a few minutes after you saying it, I'm looking at the story. I'm looking at the story to say, okay. And that's why I'll say I'll give it to Bomber. Bomber tell that shit. Bomber tells it like that. And so does what's Paneri. Cyrus King, I can't even find him no more. He's a bad boy. But I can't even find it since they tore my channel down. None of the shit go to him. He's one of the best on here. I gotta find his girl or his friend, her stuff. I gotta think of her name. Because the female with Cyrus King, she said a little bit of Wes Paneri's work too. Oh yeah, well, I mean, hey Lobo, what's happening? Like Herschel, it's like this. The magicians show you. Remember when Julia didn't make it to the school? And Julia tried any magic. She was like a junkie. She was out there willing to take any magic, no matter how it came, and then she gets turned out by a god. Because again, she was looking for anything to put in that magic fix that she was fiending for. When all along, she had the power. She was like Dorothy. It was in her all along. She just wasn't patient enough to let it develop, was the point of it. but it was in her all along. But because it was in her because they knew that the thing knew that she would go so deep where she would finally find the fucking God, because that's kind of the power she had inside. But when she met that God, she wasn't ready. She wasn't at her higher self. She was still in her lower self. So she suffered. She had to suffer. She had to be shown that it's already in you, but your curiosity and your lack of patience, you had to suffer. And the other part was, at one point, they had to say the world, they had to take the magic from her. And then how did she act after she had the magic taken from her, if you remember? She was mad. Like, you didn't ask me. Motherfucker said, I'm trying to save the world, bitch. It ain't that I ain't thinking about you, and I'm thinking about everybody. And if I had to take a piece of your ass to save the world, that's just how it's got to be, baby. You just going to have to take that one for the team. But yeah, Lobo, it's all smooth. Thank you for joining me. Art and science mastering of the Maj. Oh, it's like the Maj, like if you get into Simon Magnus, they try to tell so many lies about this brother. And he's one of the few brothers that tell you about the eternal fire. He's a fire being. And that's pretty much, there's only a handful of his words, but he talks about the fire that burns inside of you. And yet he is the only person that they say was a real person that could fly. There ain't no other person that had human flight but him. That's why the Christians had to make a lie. Because, Peter, none of them was real people. None of the real historical people. And they try to say Peter made a guy named Simon fall and break his neck. But where you see Superman have to bend down, like we saw Neo did. He had to bend down and then take off. That come from Simon Magnus. Because before he would fly, he would go down and talk to the earth. He would get so grounded. He would utter some words from the earth. That's where they get that from. Where Neo bends over and Superman bends over and then takes off. That's Simon Magnus, the only person that could really fly in the history of human talk. Human ideas. He had human flight, not levitation, flight. But he was a fire being. All his rap. There's about one or two little twisties of his you can find. But not a whole bunch. But that's universally, he could fly. I am pacing back and forth. I don't want to make you nervous. The fire that Simon Magnus is talking about is the spirit of the soul. I should have walked away a long time ago. Yeah, probably should have. Damn, you're right. I've been so passionate about all the occult magic, spiritual progression. I just be researching, working if I want to do it all, man. But got to be patient. It's like now, I'm sending out crystals to people because it's like at first I was just buying them, and then as I saw them as a perfect, they each had the unique abilities, and I'm able to tap into these abilities. It's like I love these crystals. I can almost tell you every crystal the story. Like I have some crystals that I harm because I didn't realize that hard water and crystals don't go. But I still remember the story when I got them. And so I put them in a safer place. Put them in a much safer place. So, but the point is it might be better places that can, what they meant to do, they can go do. That's how I look at it too. Like they can't be everything they could be. They got a lot of energy to give. But with me, they really can't give it. Because I have specific things that I work with. And so I'm freely giving to people. So my point is you can get zealous. You can get zealot in it. It's crazy, but my mother levitated. Yeah, that's not uncommon. People can levitate.
but it's a hard practice. You got the tiger eye just recently found calms me almost completely. Oh, that's really cool. Mage means wise man. Wizard means wizard means sage, wise one. Magic is mastering the path of wisdom. Whoops. So yeah, it's how long did I go? Oh, I went for a minute tonight. Cool. Really cool. Levitating is not that really hard of a thing to actually do. I mean, when you play sports and you can dunk a basketball, it's almost damn near the same thing. The amount of energy that it takes to dunk a basketball, very similar. I mean, you've seen they show the African brothers jumping, 50, 60 inches off the ground out in Africa. These dudes ain't that big of dudes. But so it's some ability that can be worked on. Definitely can be worked on. I'll tell you another calming stone is lignums, Shiva lignums. Very like I tell people on Facebook, if you have panic attacks, Shiva lignums are great for that. They are really great to very almost very calming, quickly calming too. They'll almost like take that away from you. Like where you suffering when you end up in a panic attack? Here it is too. The black ones are a little stronger, but these are very calming. If you have panic attacks, any kind of thing like that, this helps with that. But you can get the black ones too. They're a little stronger. That's what the original ones was black. But you know how they like lightening stuff up. And these are my card set. And I mean, again, one thing I love about these is crystals that I don't have the energy, and especially, I used these crystals one time. I kept this on it. I wasn't even paying attention. I just kept this on those cards for about 6 months. And I remember giving readings and giving energy out to people, and people really responded. And that was, wow, that was like probably 18. Probably 18. I had just left this hell, it'll come to me in a minute. It's a zoolite, apophyllite. This apophyllite. I left this on there for about 6 months, just not really using either one. And then I work with them. It's like, pow. So a lot of this is around here. Like my best cards, I haven't touched them. I showed them a few weeks ago, but I ain't touched them. But I like them. I keep a crystal on them, and I like them near me. Like I don't use these. I haven't used these, but I like them near me, so they get to know me like that. So I like them here around me. So it's still part of the experience. Edward says mystic powers are the byproducts of being steadfast in the basics. I feel you. Thank you. There are actually 9 mystical occult powers. Oh, okay. 9 is the sigil number of the sage, the celestial one, and the master teacher, soul mind today. That's probably cool. Master, teacher, soul, mind, and body. I'm softer. So, I mean, you just have to find your thing and what your powers are and what, how you show it and push it out. That's my point. It's not just one way. It's a lot of ways. It's a lot of ways to show your magical powers. It's never just one way. It's always more than one way. I didn't make a film about the game tonight because there really wasn't much to tell. I would just wonder, I wonder. This is something I wonder about injury in sports is like when we saw these compound fractures. First it was George, then it was Hayward. I wonder, are they using CGI some kind of way? I just wonder that because in the replays, it would be easy to put CGI in the replays. Like that thing with Trey Young stepping on the refs. I mean, the odds of that are just so astronomically low that the ref wouldn't step out the way. Now, when I've ref football, I had teams that try to run picks off me. So I'd have to position myself deeper or change because I like caught on. I was like, I'm helping them by just my positioning. So I would move my position so they couldn't use me. So I wondered that with injury sometime. Now, I've said before, Ghana's injury looked bad. And now they're saying no structural damage. Again, he had to brace, but I said it was a boy that had a similar looking thing that played in the NCAA this past season. Almost identical kind of looking injury where that knee just went the way it shouldn't have went. And he came back the second half. And so, like what they said wrong with Trey Young being a bone bruise, if it's me or you, it's broke. If it's me or you, it's broke. So that's how do you come back from that? I don't know. But that's one thing I've wondered about injury. Is that possible? Is CGI possible for sports injury in this day and age? Hard to say. Hard to say. Especially this past playoffs when injury's been significant. I still say that like what happened to Irving was on purpose. That was an accident. We know European players, that's just how they play. And it isn't ironic then he gets hurt. That's almost seems scripted. The person that caused the person to get hurt, now he gets hurt. So you see how you could see that as a type of script? So it's hard to say. Really a hard kind of thing to say, y'all. If that's put on or not. and this is where I tie in sports with spirituality. Sports was made because of spirituality. I mean, the people, the beings that made this, it was the spiritual beings in America. That's why I harp so much about American players. This was an American idea. This goes into American spirituality. These people came to these lands and learned about this and capitalized on it. But this is not something, and this is what they're good at. They're good at coming to countries and learning about things and making money off somebody else's ideas. That is what they do. All over the world, they've done that. So, were they trying to hurt Paul when dude pushed him super hard? I don't think that would have really hurt him. I think dude was pissed. They know. I mean, Beverly is compromised anyway. He's dirty. Beverly hurt Westbrook. Remember that. Beverly hurt Westbrook. So was he trying to hurt? I don't know if that way he could have really hurt him. I mean, if you really wanted to fade him, he'd turned around and punched him or punched him in the back of his head. That would have been more effective. So somebody pushing me from behind, I mean, how bad is it going to really hurt you? And that was kind of we're frustrated, so we play dirty when we know he's dirty. Like it tried to show you he wasn't that dirty. He just pushed you down from the back. Body, mind, mastery is using sports to master occult science. There you go. There you go. So no, there was no way he could have hurt him like that. Like that. That wouldn't have hurt him. That's why I almost hate buying fruit. Gotta have damn fruit traps. If they want to do anything, quit having the fruit flies in the fruit. We didn't order the fruit flies. You know, I never really drank cold water at all. The copper keeps at a certain temperature though. When you put it, like if you leave water in copper, it'll be fairly cold just left in here compared to leaving them in the sugarite jars. I should show you my birthday cake. the boys came here and they really put a hurting on it. There ain't that much left. Dude took a big old piece, and he took a piece like this big, and he left about this much. He's like, yeah, it was a big piece. He left like that much. Like, you can throw that little bit away. People be saying the NBA is rigged, and I don't think it's rigged. Nathaniel, Nathaniel, like then you can't hear me, and you can't hear most people that's here. I mean, because you just said it. I don't think. There it is. You don't think it is. So you really couldn't hear what I was saying. I don't know that we could ever convince you. And my thing ain't to convince you. My thing is just do your own research. Because I don't say this off just one game. I say this off really, really studying the game since the 60s. And then, of course, playing the game. I started in the 70s, playing little boy basketball all the way through up. Of course, everybody knows I played college football. I didn't play college basketball. I played college football. But I still played basketball the whole time, intramural, semi-pro, so never stopped hooping. So it's just, if you have so much experience, and then you look at the league, and then the more you look at the league, you follow it, and then you're a historian of sports, it's hard for me not to come to that conclusion. Because I've watched the game evolve. And as I've said before, watching rims, I've watched rim evolve. Collapsible rims been around since 79, at least. And I've watched those, how those have changed. So we are in probably, that's 40 some years ago. So I know I was trying to say the 10th thing. We're 40 years of collapsible rims. So I can't tell you what generation of collapsible rims we really at. But I know the systems I followed. And I see the system went from the boom, boom, boom to the rolling around. And my videos, my ball videos are undeniable. I don't just put them out there because I think. I am showing you the difference in the systems that they use. I want to make a video. I thought I was going to do it tonight, but and maybe once I get better editing, I'll show you when they miss how bad they miss. I mean, it's unbelievable. When they turn the rim off, it's really off. And then again, Joe Harris was the best three-point shooter this season. So you're telling me for the money to keep his team in the game, he can't hit a three all by himself? What are the odds of the best shooter who was money all through the season? They put him on national TV. Harris is killing them. Then when they need him to hit a big one to help Kevin Durant, he misses his open shot. I didn't expect James Harden because I already saw how the way they did him, and that's why I really was against the Nets going, because I knew they wasn't going to let Harden. Now I'll still say I still don't think they're going to let Paul, unless Paul is following the Oscar Robertson path, the Tiny Archibald path, and could be. Tiny Archibald was fairly older, maybe that age. So was Oscar. They was older players when they got their title. So I'm saying it's not impossible for this loser to turn it around for this season or a season or two, because they've done that in the past. I mean, Oscar, they won the title in 71. They lost it in 74. I think Oscar played till 75. Shit, and soon after Oscar retired, Jabbar wanted the fuck out of Milwaukee. So it's possible for Paul to win one. But again, he didn't get all the commercials for winning. And he's the little man agenda still. A dude who don't hit threes, hitting threes. Look at how hot Reggie Jackson shot. Look at the team that never lost more than 10 points the whole playoffs. What is the odds of that? This team had never been beat by more than 10 in all the playoffs. And all of a sudden, this game, the game that meant the most, they played the worst. That makes no sense. It's not sensible. And I know people say that's why it's called a series. Odds don't happen like that. Where guys are going to just play decidingly at that game, they're worse. Like today's game was almost, you could predict it. It was the same thing, and I'm repeating this. I know I just said, I'm going to say it again. It was the same thing when Kawhi Leonard went out. Nobody thought the Clippers was going to win that next game. Same thing. Milwaukee's best player go out, and the dudes who wasn't even hooping, couldn't hoop the other night, all of a sudden they can hoop. But when you play the Globetrotter way, because nobody can deny it was a slow pace tonight on dudes who thrive going up and down. If they ain't going up and down, they outmatched. That not going up and down favors big dudes. And what do we see? We see the big dudes going up and down. Porter's getting breakaways, Stealing getting breakaways. What he's saying? What did they say to Danny Ferry or David Ferry and JFK? David, we just don't believe you. What David say? Which part? And so I seem to be able to pick up sports easily and naturally in doing so. I always wonder, are certain people destined for the sacred ball game? The World Series means scripted. That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, they're going LeBron. Like they ain't really no real daddy for LeBron. Do y'all remember on Ricky Lake, they had the supposedly real daddy of Shaq? Y'all remember that? They dug up the supposed real daddy of Shaq because Shaq was supposedly raised by his stepfather, who was a military man, took him all around the world. Might have been his first handler, too. Might have been his military father. And then LeBron, there's no really real father. Remember they tried to make a short little video somebody did, and they said the one guy with ain't nothing but LeBron in a Jerry curl wig, with a black and white picture. It's like, well, this is the guy we think, and they're showing you LeBron in a black and white picture with a wig on. So where did he come from? And that's why everybody say it's probably Nate Thurman. And somebody would pay. You could pay a ghetto mother to impregnate her daughter for some money, and especially, injecting semen into her, artificial insemination. You can't tell me you couldn't pay. What did Mariah Carey say? Her sister drugged her and tried to sell her to a pimp. That's what it's in her own book. And everybody knows her sister was tricking. So she's trying to tell you part of her story. So it's very possible that Nate Thurman is his daddy. Same build, same male pattern baldness, not as tall. Nate Thurman was 6'10", 6'11". Paul George had a bad game. What's the odds of that? He's supposed to be playoff Paul. So what's the odds of him? Reggie Jackson had a bad game too. It's not bad to have a bad game. It's bad when both your best players left is having a bad game the same day. It's okay when one has a bad game and the other one doesn't, but when they both, and you can see when they turn the rim off, and then you can see when they point shaving. Shaq was definitely a monarch athlete. I heard that it was Nate too. That's just, he looks like the cat. He looks like the cat. Just physically, he looks like the dude. And the dude we know was in Cleveland when she was about 15, when she supposedly had the baby. And so that, like Zion, again, Zion ain't raised by parents. And look at, okay, this is the one that's the killer story, is Simone, the Simone gymnastics. That they just went over there and magically adopted these little girl sisters, and they saw something in them. They went to one practice. My daughter does gymnastics, and it ain't cheap. Like, if you're really serious about it, people go every day, and it ain't cheap. But they had the funds to send these girls, and real life ain't like that. because it had to be one of the parents' passions to start with, to put them with the right coaches and stuff. Like my daughter does baton, her mother did flag, and her mother did rifles, which is a type of twirling. And it just happens I was a receiver. So it's building her to catch with her fingers and catch with her eyes. It's building her because of my DNA and what I passed to her. So that's something that she should be able to easily achieve because the skills was passed on through the DNA to her to do that thing, to baton twirl. Because she got my DNA to do that. Oh, okay. I missed what you said. I'm sorry. Edward, I get to talking. I'll go back. In the sacred ball game, the losers are in the living sacrifices. Losing in the modern ball game is being symbolic living sacrifice. No dying. I got you. I got you. Thank you for that, Edward. I get you running my mouth. That's a good point. But we see people like, that slave breeding shit we know was a lie. It's made up shit too. But are they breeding for these athletes? Definitely so. Like you look at these Kardashians, wanting to have entertainer spouses. And I mean, they're trying to pass something. And then Chloe finally got a child of a athlete. So we'll see that daughter's path. And there's some kind of value they see in it. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories in the NBA. I mean, just sports in general. It'll never go away. It's like you trying to say now the pitchers is cheating. When you're giving them a baseball this is the funny thing about the way they're going after pitchers. You're giving them a ball that in itself, they give them new balls every time. So you know how any other ball is when it's new. It's hard to grab. So you're asking these men that can throw a baseball 100 miles an hour or even 90 miles an hour. What is it, 60 feet, something like that to the pitcher's mound? 60 feet, something like that? So you want a bazooka to shoot at you with a dude who can't really grab the ball. And they found ways that more to grab the ball so they can control it. But it makes no sense because it's fixed to begin with. So that's the thing that makes no sense. So if you're thinking about safety, you want these mugs to be able to throw a ball with control. And if they got to use a little spit, they got to use something, it's only fair. If you're going to shoot a bazooka next to me, make sure the person shooting the bazooka can reach me safely. Well, I am going to do the divination. Yeah, about an hour and a half is usually when I turn to it. It's funny watching my children. They do what I do. Melanated people have been in America for thousands of years before the Africans and the Europeans came over here. Yeah, before everybody came over here. I mean, this is the land that we Adam and Eve in. We Adam and Eve in these lands. So, however you want to look at the original people. What's this? Oh, that is sweet, Crazy Sarge. Yeah. Okay. I see you. That's sweet. That is sweet. I like that. So the Mayan date would be 13 batoons, 0 katoons, 8 tunes, 11 uno, and we are on day 15 kin. I like that, Crazy Sarge. I like that energy. And on day 15 kin, here we go. Day 15 kin is men, ego, higher collective mind, planetary mind, consciousness. And if you're trying to manifest, the energy is coming out of the west. And those of you that want the fractal, there it is. So it's Quarto. So in this image, we see an eagle warrior. We know this because of the feather in his head. He is painted black, which together with the red were the colors of knowledge. Being painted black signifies this reunification of the mundane and world of the mundane world is a dedication to the quest of spiritual knowledge. The warrior is Quetzalcoatl in human form. He is throwing a spear that represents both attention, also number one, symbolizing the great spirit as the one. On the top part of the card, we see the eyeball representing the action of attending. This image of Quetzalcoatl in the eagle warrior fashion is reminding us to stop only looking in the mundane world, to focus our attention on the presence of the one. In this way, we can maintain our equilibrium, which should be at the top goal for dual-nature beings, as we are. The eagle card represents the freedom of elevation, for which is low through your own effort. Getting the eagle card means that you need to and can elevate yourself for whatever is opposing you, no matter how low you think you are. The freedom that the eagle spirit portrays is a self-liberation process that isn't directed against any exterior energy. The only real enemy is our attachment to our actions, situations, habits that give us no life, but that we remain attached to out of fear of trying something new. The eagle voice says, you can stop the habit that is killing you now. You can leave the person who does not respect you now. You can leave a job that is killing your spirit. You can start now living in the life that your spirit longs for. You can stop hurting your body by eating in a way that you know isn't good. You can leave behind the physical or emotional addiction that sustain your false mask of weakness. You can change all those things now. You are much stronger than you ever imagined. This is the elevation of the eagle represents. The barriers to better life has always been inside the first place, which you should overcome them. Interchange will be expressed in an action that will empower your life and your world. Be aware that in the elevation of the eagle doesn't happen through fighting against what crawls. It is a transmutation of something higher. Psychologically and spiritually, it means you will achieve your elevation through your passion for flying, not through fighting with the negative parts of yourself. What you consider to be negative parts are going to be transmuted by your search for elevation. Instead of thinking in terms of destroying the parts of yourself or your life that give you trouble and do you no good, think about transmuting them. First, try to determine the good that you are trying to achieve through your mistaken behavior. Look behind the action and ask yourself, what good am I trying to achieve through this behavior? That is important for me. Whatever you find, keep asking the same question. If you get to the bottom of your motivations, you will find out that you are looking for something positive, even your most negative behavior. Think about teenagers who try to go to the beach to get drunk. It is a good example of destructive behavior. But at the bottom of their hearts, they are looking most likely, without knowing it, to make a connection with something higher that may provide stability and a sense of security for their souls. They do not know it, but they yearn for the Great Spirit as much as any other being. They just don't know a better way. The message is, find the seed of good hidden in your negative behavior and fly it into a better way to achieve what you seek. So that connects with anybody? I give freely. My mama's people are originally from here. Okay. Mine too. You think they don't push LeBron to win this year? Why? I think the problem, I think, now looking at it, and I believe it was him to have the freedom to push Space Jam, because it's going to go beyond America, which I understand. They was like, they pushed the idea of LeBron. I tell you, some of my ideas must have got to them, because they're like, well, LeBron's ship has sailed for playing in the Olympics. I don't know if to me, if I put all that money into Space Jam, naturally to me, I would have insisted the Olympic connection too. But on the other hand, when you make a movie, you got to go where the movies is being premiered. Movie life is very short. And of course, now they opening things up in China. He going to go all over the world with this movie. So that's why. So looking at the whole picture, That is why he ain't playing in the Olympics, which I understand that part too. Because when it's premiered in the country, they expect to see the star. So I can't down there pimping. I really can't. I understand that. It's I understand marketing. So that was it. That's why they didn't win this year. I definitely think the Brow's injury was questionable. He seems to play the the hurt person quite often. That just seems to be part of his role. So they gave it to him last year. He'll be back in it again. LeBron gonna play with his son. He gonna Ken Griffey Jr. He's gonna do the Ken Griffey Jr. with his one son. Just like they let Brady play forever, they're gonna do that to LeBron. LeBron gonna be hooping at 45, winning titles at 45. That shit with Brady ain't believable. Now, through history, cats have played, quarterbacks have played. That's not nothing new. I think George Blanda, he played like Brady. He played in four different. He played in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and the 70s. He played in the original AFL. But he played in the 40s, right after World War II. He played in 48 or 49 and played all the way to the 70s. But he was a kicker. Every year he didn't just play quarterback. He kicked for some years. So that prolongs your career. Old-fashioned straightaway kicker. When he went to the Raiders, he was a backup quarterback, but mostly just a kicker. And what's the dude who's the all-time leading scorer? He just retired. He was 40-something. So kicking ain't hard on you. But playing quarterback is hard on him. They just told you he had some kind of knee injury. And he ain't never blindsided anymore. He ain't never taking hard hits anymore. If you watch the games, he ain't taking blindside hits. It was like with Drew Brees. They ain't put the hands up when they was rushing him. So Brady ain't taking them hard hits that you see some of the cats take. Because, and another reason they keep him in is he's the stiff quarterback. They don't want to see that die. He is the last of his kind. Tom Brady is. Fitzpatrick is another dude. He's a little more mobile even than Brady. But Brady is the last of his kind. The stand-up quarterback will be no more when Brady quits. There will never be another person. Matt Stafford is another one. That thing is dying. And if you think he is an upgrade from that young boy they had, that cat's old. You got rid of a young dude for an old dude that ain't never won nothing. What he won? Maybe one playoff game? Golf won a couple playoff games at least. You traded for a dude that ain't even won a playoff game. So, a few weeks ago, I counseled a young man at Subway after he had a heated argument with a female. The guy thought I was a pastor. Interesting. That's cool, Edward. That's positive. Now, we need more positive stories like that. Where a person can take, you'll touch their heart and their spirit. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Touching their heart and their spirit. That's why I don't really cap for nobody. You got these cats coming on here capping for these politicians they don't know. Capping for agenda that don't work for them. There's an agenda that don't work for everybody. I don't care what color you are. There's an agenda out there that don't work for half of the population. When they say 1%, there are people that argue the 1%'s position. And the 1% holding everybody down. That's the division thing. But you got people capping for the 1%. I don't get that. And they can't believe everything they say. And I don't disagree on everything. But it's like you capping for these people from your experience. How? And if you're a learned person, So it come a certain point, you being disingenuous because you already know it's the evil thing that's tied to that. I heard people say the economy ain't ever been better. You live in, let me tell you my experience today. I went into Walmart. There was some shit in there that they was the only one that had the shit around here. And there ain't a lot of motherfuckers working up in there. That was first what I noticed. Even going in, I noticed that. When I'm checking out, and it was a little bit of funny gang stalking. I did it to myself. Instead of just following, like I said, instead of following the path, I'm behind some dumb motherfuckers. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This shit is stupid here. Let me go where to move the internet, because it didn't make sense. But it's like nobody working in where you know, people, a person's got full groceries. He can't go to the, you know, you just can't. When you got a full cart of groceries, you can't go to the self checkout. There ain't enough room. So you were forced to go to a teller. They ain't have a one or two tellers. And the shit almost looked gang stalk. It was so many motherfuckers there. But I'm looking at these checkout. So first I went behind one of them because the checkouts was crazy. It was like if you in Walmart, the self-checkout lanes was all the way into the fruit shit. But it's like 8 places that you can check out. So it moves fairly fast. And so after I got in another line, I'm like, I'm stupid for so long. I went into, but it was like I gang stalked myself by not, again, following the path. But it showed me something else too. It ain't a whole bunch of motherfuckers really wanting to do that bullshit work anymore. And I say that's where people is getting these asshole jobs you go to back. Because I've told story after story of just working with assholes. I worked with one motherfucker. He got so mad at me because I just told him the deal. I'm like, first of all, I don't work in your apartment. I don't work for you. I work with your department. So you ain't my boss. So this is what my job description says. This is what my daily work is. Now, if I go above that, cool. But you can't come at me when I didn't go below what I'm supposed to do every day. Shit. That shit hurt his soul so bad because I don't think anybody had ever talked to him like that. Because the dude I work with was kissing his ass all the time, shucking and jiving. It hurt that man so bad. That man went to the company president. He went to the board. He went to everybody, sent emails. Like I came and just disrupted the whole plant. It hurt his soul so bad. Because he had never come across a real man whose destiny wasn't in his hands. Who, I don't give a fuck what you say. Motherfuckers used to get mad at me. I'm like, you see that truck out there? I'm going to drive it working here or not. You see my place? I'm going to live there no matter I work here or not. That hurts motherfuckers. When you have that kind of confidence, like, motherfucker, I don't depend on that thing I drive and where I live on this shit. This is extra shit. I am not stupid enough to depend on you to survive. Coming here is gravy. This is from my extra shit, but that's it. And that hurts motherfuckers. When you tell motherfuckers that shit with confidence, that hurts their soul. Because a lot of people management style is they think they the father and you the child. That's how motherfuckers manage. Motherfuckers really manage like that. And so if you manage like that, check yourself. But I give him an example because that shit just made his head blow off. This motherfucker, and this is how I fuck with him so bad. When he went home, this motherfucker couldn't think of nothing else but me. It probably took him a couple of days, me standing up to him, to get over that shit. But that's assholes, I say. And that's why a lot of people, your state's still giving this money, fuck them. Why go through that kind of stupid shit? You ain't got to hear that shit. And yes, this is socialism. They sending you free checks. That's socialism, no doubt. Because this shit ain't capitalism that we live in. They try to throw that shit out there, but it ain't that. Because one thing that's always fucked up about capitalism is elites. Now, ABL, what you say about elites? That don't exist? How come our people ain't any elites? That ain't a word that's with our people. melanated people. What melanated person is really elite? And I want to hear Oprah and Perry. Shit. Motherfucker wear a dress. That nigga ain't elite. That shit is, you backed yourself into that shit. Oh, you saying Super Sly and LA movement about Brady? Sly liked the Patriots, but now he ain't with the Patriots. If I started YouTube, it would be tailored to the full development of young black men. That's a good point. Players, pimps, max, tricks. There's always proper protocols when it comes to dealing with foolish, stupid people. There you go. Hey, Jody, thank you for joining me. Created one type of man, which is a man. Okay, he said that. Charleston got hurt by Kwame. That time into Kwame, but you know, Kwame he ain't getting like he was getting them 15, 20,000 people. And I'm gonna say this for everybody. Don't fucking quote Kwame. Don't make that bullshit he say, them spells he put out there be your spells. Because he's saying spells. I mean, that's just how English is, it's spells. Catchy shit is spells. So don't be mindful that you ain't using other people's shit. Be mindful of that. Some people can't help it. Shit, that one mother, I ain't gonna talk bad of him because it ain't bad, but the one dude, he do Kwame edits. And that's a good thing. I'll say that. That self-talk dude, self-taught, he edits for Kwame. Right on. That's how you build a team. He building his channel off editing, and so the timing is perfect if you understand how that thing works. Kwame doesn't quite have those skills. He got a dude that does, and he's working with him. That's, to me, right on. Let everybody eat off that. But as far as me imitating what that motherfucker says, like I don't say the spell. The end of the day, I don't say that shit. And I've watched this spell now for 3 years, probably since 17. And that shit that ain't a spell. How is it that all these athletes use that? All these talking heads. How is it that all of them say that shit? I'm watching Craig Facts. It's a dude. I don't know who the motherfucker was, but he get to talking and they pause at the end of the day. On my other channel, I ain't never say that shit, and I ain't never said that shit on this channel other than just mimicking it there as a joke. Now, it's a fill-in word. I admit it's a break word. You quit talking. But how is it that everybody used that? How is it that all these talking heads use that? How is it that the young people on YouTube that have platforms, these entertainers, how is it that all of them say that shit? How is that? That all of them say the end of the day spell, if it ain't a spell? Ain't nothing else they can say? They ain't been saying that shit forever. And I watched this spell spread. I watched this shit spread. And motherfuckers wasn't saying it 6 months, and all of a sudden they saying the shit, and going on 4 years, they still saying the shit. It shows the simpleness of just basically communicating. You got to imitate to communicate. I don't listen to a motherfucker and start talking like him and use quoting his things. David Sloan. Oh, you know it. You know it. I took two big ones, David. So you know that. A lot of high value men are actually weak, offended simps. So I bought some more. Shit. It's funny. My guy was like, hey, I don't even know the name of this shit. He's like, if they put it in the rig, they going to sleep on it. That's what he was telling me. So it's good. It's good. It's decent. So it's butter though. It's more butter than it is. Can't get to hard resin lately. Black celebrities, politicians, pro athletes are token minstrels, not elites. Yep. I don't hang on Kwame's words. He doing his spells. You know, he's making good money on his lie. Exactly. He's more famous now than he was ever famous before. And this is the thing. Playing 12 years in the NBA didn't make him famous. That's what's funny. playing in the NBA for 12 years didn't make him as famous as he is now. His brand wasn't famous before the last, month? His brand, Kwame been on for a couple years. But do you see how the timing all of a sudden the last month, the same thing he was talking about years ago, he's still talking. And all of a sudden, no, everybody's attracted to it. He does a live 20,000 people. Even one time it surprised him. But at the same time, that Charleston White dude kind of got pushed to the side, which showed you they can give it to you and they can take it back. And even he was imitating Kwame, saying some of his shit. The fuck out of here. Why are you saying his shit? Saying them spells Kwame was saying. Because you know how it works? When you see somebody getting sunshine, sometimes if you can just get a piece of it, you can get a little of that shine. And he's got a point. I mean, one thing about these talking heads, like I was saying about these recent hires, they drag motherfuckers through the fire. He talking a whole bunch of absolutely nothing. David Taylor, that's part true. He ain't talking about fixed sports. He started blowing up in May on the Boulay birthday. Good point, Lorenzo. How are you? Thank you for having me. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, his YouTube was closed down. Okay. And he was bragging how, he was with celebrities and he had all this shit going. And I ain't hating on him, but, just his presentation was kind of goofy to be a national person to present himself. You can tell Kwame took some kind of speech lessons, though. People grow up in South Carolina, talk very country. Say that again. People who grew up in South Carolina, my teammates that grew up in South Carolina still speak very country. So he's had some kind of speech lessons. To get rid of some of that twang. Which, right on. Michael Jordan did the same thing. Right on. I thought that hurt Karl Malone. I thought that hurt Avery Johnson to not get rid of that twang. And Michael's one of the best examples. Michael from North Carolina, they talk with a twang. He speak half truth, half lies, and half gibberish. But I told y'all, motherfucker offered me to start attacking him. They told me they would help my channel. And I told Super Sly, I said, Sly, I came across this brother. Check him out. Dude was attacking him. And I'm like, see? I wasn't capping. Because that's how they try to do it. They say, well, you be the anti that. You be the anti that. You start, tearing at his foundation. How come no professional athletes have ever come forward about exposing rigged sports? At least W is honest that their stuff is scripted. It's the exclusive contracts. I mean, Kwame coming up on pension. Kwame in his late 40s. They 50 something. I think Iverson gets his Reebok money at 50 or 55. I don't remember. A lot of them pensions is coming up. So you gonna talk about scripted sports, or you gonna get, if your thing is $300,000 for life? Look at Barry Bonita. July 1st every year, Barry Bonita get 1.9 for the Mets. He gets that until the 30 something. I think he gets until 35. He my age. We're a year from each other. But yet he is going to get 1.9 for some shit he signed back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Look at all these baseball players that, they're like, okay, you want to spread my money out? 1.9 every year for doing nothing because you was a smart businessman. Every year. He make more money than dudes playing. It's some dudes playing that didn't wait. They showed a list of dudes who's playing today, starting, and don't make as much money as Bobby Bonilla. Well, let's see. I'm pretty sure Bobby Bonilla is around my age. Let's double check. Baseball player Bobby Bonilla. Okay, he's 58. He turned 58 in February. So see, he's 2 years behind me. He graduated with my ex-wife year, 81, from high school. And he played broke there. He graduated from high school in 81. He was in the minors from 81 to 86. He went up in 86. And so today is his 1.9 anniversary. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I'm wrong. 1.2. Yeah, he'll get 1.2 million until 2035. Isn't that a lick? That's a lick. That is a lick. He been getting this shit since he retired. Okay, so he been getting this shit since 2000. 35 years they paying him 1.2. And they didn't owe him 35 million. Yeah. So Bobby Bonilla, we give you the Nazi salute. Right on, Bobby Bonilla. What did my son say they do to each other? They do this to each other and shit. You know, that means for to bring a left hand or right hand, you know, right hand pitcher, left hand pitcher. My son is saying this means some shit. And I'm thinking, left hand pitcher? Right hand pitcher? It's like, no, Dad, it doesn't mean that. I'm like, that's what it means. It means I either want a left hand pitcher or I want a right hand pitcher. He's like, it doesn't mean that, Dad. It's some gangster shit. I'm like, no, that's some baseball signaling, goof. You ain't know that about Bobby? Yeah. Oh, every year they show this. Every year they sell. Every July 1st they celebrate it. There's two things that's going to happen on July 1st. They're going to talk about Lady Diana, Princess Diana, because her and I were a year and a day. My birthday's on the 30th. Her birthday's on the 1st. But you know what? I think, man, when they killed JFK Jr. was around the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, because he was about 6 months older than me. I want to say it was like 1st or 2nd. But when I heard about Diane dying, that was my first thought. Was like, me and this chick is like a day apart. So a lot of, you know, even though she's related to the motherfuckers, I just understand being the same age when we was the same age. But yeah, Bobby Bonilla is the man. Do you do that, tap your veins and pump them up before you shoot up? Yeah, I said the same thing about that too. I said, what? I mean, does that mean, you know, you take it to the head? But yeah, I said that too. He's like, no, Dad, it doesn't mean that. I said the same thing. That's the exact same thing I said to him, boo. I said the same thing. Never of the bean, no gang member signal. Never of the, yeah, exactly. But when I was like, what? You taking it to the arm? That means some heroin shit? He's like, no, Dad. I'm like, right hand pitcher, left hand pitcher? He's like, no. Hey, boo, thanks for joining me. So yeah, I laughed at this shit too. I laughed at it. That was about my second thing. That was the second thing I said to him. He's getting mad at me and shit. He's silly. Meaty chats. Okay. Let me see where you said, Edward. Oh. Yeah, they're getting paid good. You'd have some nice. Well, thank you, David. Thank you, David. Yeah, he put it on Patreon, but it's still on my page on Facebook under Brian Toby Maker. You can find it, but mostly it's on Patreon. Kevin Samuels is affected by the spells of YouTube spellcasters. Kevin's okay. I ain't never listened to none of this shit he said either. Can you see Chris Paul wing it all this year? Can you see Chris Paul wing it all this year? It's not the right question. Athlete exposing that stuff, it'd never happen. No, it'd never happen. Can you see Chris Paul wing it all year? I don't think so. I mean, he ain't got hurt yet. But thank you, David Sloan. Thank you for joining. Adam, what's happening? Who's going to the finals to meet the Suns? Who you think coming out on top when all is said and done? I'm smooth though. I've been terrible, but like as I was saying yesterday, they looked at the numbers, and so all the teams is acceptable for their numbers. Again, they got a quick turnaround coming. If they put it in that mid-season tournament like they're talking about, it's going to be a lot of momentum. I think whoever comes out of the East is more than likely going to win it, just because they tend to like giving the teams that win it to keep winning it. And I think we've only counted 4 teams in the last 20 years winning it for their first time. So will they let the Suns? I don't know. Chris Paul seems to be the lovable loser, and maybe that'll change. I don't think so. So I'd say whoever came out of the East is going to win it all. Again, the Suns and the Bucks, they're not going to kill numbers. The NBA is already losing to what is it? What's the talent show? America's Got Talent carried the week, followed by the Olympic trials. So you got NHL is up to game 2. So I watched today and yesterday, I watched mostly the hockey game. I see a blowout, and again, not too exciting teams. Atlanta ain't that exciting to start with, or really believable. So I watched most of the hockey game. And then when it was obvious that what they was trying to do, not keep the game close to take any chances. So I watched the hockey game. So think about it like that. Who are you going to watch? The hockey game, or are you going to watch Milwaukee, Atlanta, with no names? And I bet you they didn't do higher ratings than the hockey game. Now, I'll say this. The NBA did for the week beat out hockey last week. So none of the hockey was in the top 10 that I saw. None of the hockey games was in the top 10. So maybe they carry tonight. I doubt it. We'll see. We'll see how they do this week. I got TV Guide again, baby. I won on hockey, though. I had a $50 bet on Bokovic to hit 6 threes tonight, plus Hawks to win. Would have been a $4,000 win. I'm heated. I won a nice little chunk. Now, I lost. I took the 4 points, and I lost with Atlanta tonight. And I took the over and under and lost on that, but I won the hockey game. So it made up. I got a nice little chunk of change today. So it made up. It didn't. I bet more money on hockey than I did on basketball. This Bucks versus Suns. Suns will win. David, you think so? NBA joke, even more money every season. But on the other hand, you got, so if it's Atlanta, you got 2 brothers coaching. If it's not Atlanta, you don't have 2 brothers coaching. You've got one brother against a European coach. You think they're going to give it to the brother? With Chris Paul, I just don't see it. I can't see it. And again, maybe, I don't know. This is new ownership. This ain't them billionaires, same billionaires. This is a newer ownership. And again, it could be one of the lesser billionaires, as they call it. I don't know. But I just don't see it this quick for them. I don't see it. Could be. I've been wrong. But I tend to think, and I did a bunch of scenarios. And again, I kind of saw coming out the East as the ones to win it, if you look back through the shows. So that's what I think. Effeminate black male channels are never banned or flagged. Kevin Samuels. Last 20 years, teams that won their first: Heat, Mavericks, Cavaliers, and Raptors. Yeah, I think it's 4, right? Yeah, Heat, Mavericks, Cavs, and Raptors. Yeah, 4 teams in 20 years. And yeah. Mavericks. Yeah. So they're not, and almost each one of them you can kind of see why. Each team won. There was something that little extra that put them in it. So, because the Cavaliers, again, Cleveland hasn't. Cleveland, that's the only championship Cleveland really had, because the team that won in '64 is the Baltimore franchise. So even though they're saying Cleveland had a championship in 50 years, that franchise hadn't, before they won the championships in Baltimore, of course. So it's a different franchise. That Cleveland franchise ain't won nothing, but LeBron won in basketball. But the football program, and it's been around about 20 years now, they ain't won nothing. So I see the Suns versus Hawk for 3 reasons: MLK connection, Kobe connection, and both have ties to letter 33. That to me, that's the gate. That's the best gate. The NBA is going to take a major loss if they put the Suns in Milwaukee. Viewership is going to be way down. It's not going to win over the casual fan. It's just not. Algorithms are source code spells that are tools used to determine the banning of and flagging of channels. It is. It's because like where they gave me a strike, now it's people on news channels saying the same thing on YouTube. So what's the difference? So you took me down, you took my other channel down, 3,000 videos, and I'm basically saying some stuff. I really only said my experience with my doctor. So I wasn't trying to, and so now that kind of thing ain't even frowned upon anymore. Democrats ain't so hard on it, but it's just funny the Democrats came in and my other channel got taken down for talking about experience that my doctor said and what happened to somebody. So they changing the rules. What do they say? Just when you learn all the answers, they change the questions. So, and that goes back to what I was saying about these children. They say they making mega rich in these families. So to teach shit that's stupid, they pay. If you teach your real knowledge, they don't really want that. And there's a lot of these people, I think, that teach some good knowledge, but they teach a lot of false knowledge with that good knowledge. They teach misleading. They capping for somebody. And I think that's wrong. And then they want to tell you that that's the only way to figure out these stories. When numbers ain't really spiritual. So we know who the enemy is. You should know who the enemy is. Don't get fooled by these people. You know who the enemy is. You got these people out here capping for these motherfuckers. They telling you it's different enemies. And they ain't paying me, so I can talk really pretty much how I want to talk. They running commercials during my shit, but they ain't paying me for it. But I understand how the thing works. Because when I was in the 800s, I was seeing commercials on my shit. So I understand. Google. And so I think a lot of these people is dishonest, leading you down the wrong thing. Because it's about telling the whole story, not the story, not your protective story. That's what we see a lot of is protective stories, where we're going to give out so much, but we're going to blame them. And so this old guy comes on and he blames them too. And then you got another young guy blaming all them. Well, what was the old thing about civil rights? Keep your eye on the prize. They're trying to tell you that there's a different prize. No, the prize is the same. It's knowing the enemy. That's the prize. So don't let these people take your eye off the enemy. As long as you know these is the enemy, they tools too. That's the thing the mind has to do. The mind has to release so much. Oh, let me show you some cool shit. Now, you know, I always got this. And so one of the young men that's with my son went somewhere and took about 4 or 5 of these. It's probably some furniture, table leg or some shit, but made it like a bat, and it's got a hole in it. And so I'm going to get a little piece of lead. I'm going to stuff it in there, and then I'm going to get some rubber and kind of block off both parts with rubber, give it a little more weight to it. But look at this polish. Like, this shit is so good, I don't even think I can get this bubble off. Like where this varnish is, I don't think I can take that off without taking off some of the wood. That shit is in there so much. But look at that polish. And I've said before, I took something more like, it was shaped like this, but it was long as this. It was from a Detroit Lions baseball game in the 70s. I took one of these little things like this to college. And everybody that came in my room my freshman year would grab the little bat and just start fucking with it. It was just men and women. It was just funny. But I like little things like this. And I'm going to weigh it out a little bit. It's almost like billy club size, especially in the wintertime. This is fit in the coat pocket. It's like, it makes me think of like the fat dude who claimed he had $20,000 worth of jewelry, which he didn't. I saw the shit. The shit was probably 1,000 or 2 at the most. But like, he was near his car and he saw somebody coming towards him. And then this fat dude tries to run into the store like that's going to save him. It's like, I ain't got any knives here, but let me show you something. I carry 2 little small little pocket knives, very small. Both of them are no longer than this. But it's like, you know, you can get space and back up. And it's like, instead of doing this, like somebody goes to swing, you can stab them in the arm. So instead of like taking blows, you see somebody swing, and unless person is trained, they dated George Foreman, the mummy punches. You know, they come like this. And you can just stab them in the freaking arm. So instead of like taking blows, just fucking stab them in the arm. But even something like this gives you space. It gives you space. You poke a dude hard in the chest, they're going to back up a little bit. Throw them off balance. And that's basically what you want. If you got to run to get away, run. Receiving 2 people, you know, make each blow count. You know, hit them effective spots. Since 12, the sons of the first team not from the state of Texas, Cali, represent the East. Yeah, I think you brought that up before. NBA tainting history of having bums like Holiday and Middleton go off. Exactly. Worrying about finding the right question, right answer is the byproduct of mastering the question. NBA product is so poor, they are losing many viewers. Again, when you attain self-actualization, self-sovereignty, self-mastery, there are no enemies. There you go. I carry a Glock 34. This time of year, I carry my 38. But when in the wintertime, I carry a SIG 3 something it's called. You know, it's the 9mm plastic SIG, and I got the brace and all that. Fits in the backpack perfectly. And it carries 22 rounds each, plus 1 in the pipe. So, yeah, I've got more than firepower. Crackhead ain't going to feel that pocket knife. No, that ain't true. He'll bleed. You stab both their inner arms, makes mug back up, and sometimes backing up may help you get away. Did I tell my crackhead story before? I think I told it, but it's just a goofy ass story I had. So I was going out of Papa Murphy's, and I like had 2 pizzas and I was holding them, and this motherfucker grabbed my pizzas. And, you know, again, you know, I'm barely getting out the door and I'm really off balance. And this motherfucker grabbed my pizzas. And when he grabbed them, my instinct was, because again, to grab 2 big ass large pizzas, it wasn't like he just grabbed them and stuffed them. He had to kind of handle them. And so he kind of grabbed them. He kind of grabbed one with each hand, kind of. And when he grabbed them, I just fired on it. And he kind of threw the pizzas up in the air and I caught him. And then he ran around the thing. And you know, Papa Murphy's pizzas, these pizzas ain't even cooked. So, you know, what is he going to take his lighter and try to light the bottom of the pizza to get the cheese to melt? So I didn't understand that. I mean, if he would have just said, yo, I'm hungry, you know, do you think you can buy me a pizza? I'd just bought the motherfucker a pizza, you know. But, yeah. What would happen to an athlete if they expose this script? They wouldn't get, as I said before, what you have to understand is dudes who played in college, well, let's even go back further. Dudes who played in high school, dudes who played in college, dudes who played in pros. These relationships last a lifetime. They last a lifetime. So if you've played a certain number of years in the league, you've got non-disclosure, even if you didn't make pension money. But if you go against that non-disclosure, the world is going to come down on you and your family. And they know that. They see how these dudes are sacrificed. Look how people are sacrificed only playing a year or 2. People play a year or 2 and still die when they on certain dates, and that's where I agree with the numbers people. That's a real thing. So they would rather have their number called later than sooner. But my point is, there are so many relationships in sports that go outside of sports. People aren't going to risk their livelihood because your father could be getting help by one of your sports connections, your mother, your cousin. I mean, there are a million connections that sports give you. My friends are still my friends for 40 years. When I'm telling my best friend that I have connections to try to help his son to go to A&T to play football one day if he has enough talent, I still have enough connections. As I said before, I still get to go to the A&T games free. I get to stand on the sideline. I get one of them things around my neck. And I don't personally know any of the coaching staff anymore, but my teammates be down there. My teammates are like, they go to that year and they say, hey, you know him? Oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, okay. So that's the point of it is these are not just, these are lifetime connections. And nobody's giving that up. No one's giving that up, guys. It's just how it is. I mean, there's some stories out there about people missing. Remember, we had a basketball player, won a title. What happened to him? Brother pushed him off a boat. Roger Troutman's brother killed him. I mean, what did the Godfather say when he brought Michael back? He said, if my son comes back and dies in a police thing, I'm going to blame somebody on this council. Or if my son slips on a banana peel and dies, I'm going to blame one of you. So it's a mob. Pro sports is a mob. It can fix things. They can fix things. If it's fixable and you've lived the script, they can fix things for you. They have pension funds for players that's on hard time, all sports. You get on hard times and you play. It's people that try to help you. Remember the story I told about that ex-NBA player? He was damn near homeless. And pretty much, you know, the end of his life was kind of rough, but it was a thing that helped. Oh, and he played in the ABA. But there's a fund for them players because them players is in their 70s now. So they could ask somebody to ask somebody to ask somebody to ask somebody, and they go back and say, oh, this dude did this. So can you help him now? David, I don't live in Detroit anymore, David. I live here in Minneapolis. And I had one friend. When I lived here in the 90s, we went to everything. We knew what Suge's was Suge's name Demetrius Smith from Flint? Yeah, Demetrius, I played defensive end up here. He was one of my guys. He had a cousin that hooped with us all. But Big Suge hooped with us too. What was the big lineman? Dave. Dave was one of the linemen, and he hooped with us at Bally's. So we got tickets all the time to everything. All the time. It's just, you know, the Metrodome, even watching baseball games in the Metrodome was fucked up at the end. That was one of the worst places. I'm surprised more people didn't sue them before they tore that thing down. You talking about a stadium having the raggediest, steps in the world. Oh, before they tore the Metrodome down, that was a place like a maze. There, you bunch of broken steps, and I never saw it set up top. But I said enough down on the main thing. It was a terrible place to watch sports. Oh, you live in Flint. Okay. My people from Battle Creek in Kalamazoo. Yep. My cousin went to Flint Northern. He went to school with some of the Breezes. He went to school with trying to think, Chip Banks. Chip Banks is probably slightly younger than him. Did Rising come out of Flint too? I think Rising hooped in Flint too, I think. So they was slightly younger than us. But I think Chip Banks is our age. Trying to think other Flint cats. Because, you know, the thing used to be is the people from Detroit went to Michigan. The people from Flint went to State. And, you know, like Flint is an example of kind of how they treated our people. Like, you know, after they took all the jobs out of Flint, like they took out of most of the country, they opened all the schools up to hoop all summer. And so the basketball courts became like a daycare. And so it was one place where they opened all the gyms up all summer. So the children had somewhere to go, and, you know, lunch programs and everything, but it kept them out. It was almost like the premise of the Midnight League, you know, get these young people from 9 to 2, 3 in the morning and have, you know, be a positive experience, you know, not just have them sitting in the gym, but have them sitting in the gym and learning. Like we had class on being men. We bring teachers in. Like I said before, dudes didn't understand. I mean, bad as deodorant is, melanated people just can't use deodorant. You got to use antiperspirant. It's just going to work better for you. And it's got them aluminums in there, but we just ain't, you know, we ain't really cut where we stink. I mean, that's just not natural for us in our social lives. And it's just, that's how it is. So that's a metal you're going to put on you just because of that. Like I still wear colognes. That Savage shit, that shit is the best smelling shit in the world. And I smell like that shit all the time. So it is funny now, you know, feeling the 60s, and I'm seeing women still check me out because I always dress, you know. It's kind of my thing. I always dress. Unless you see me walking around, working out, you know, I'm pretty much dressed everywhere I go. And my son says you shouldn't wear, he says you should wear socks with slides. And so I asked this young lady, and she's like, yeah, I really don't like looking at people's feet. I'm like, socks it is, honey. I just put myself from that perspective. So, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to start wearing this motherfucker again. My thumb been falling asleep. So, okay. Okay. At least it didn't break nothing. I think I'm gonna go get the copper glove, but it's like my hand needs to rest. So it's like with my SIG, I can't shoot one-handed. That motherfucker. And like where my shit is torn. Let me get it. So, okay, so this arm, this is torn right here. Yeah, up here. But on this arm, it's torn. I'm trying to think. Tricep, bicep. It's not torn in the same place. Okay, so this arm is torn up here. On this arm is torn down there. So, but that 38, I can shoot one hand, both hands. And that's just a sweet little gun. Be like, surprise. Especially carrying 2 or 3 of them, you know, because they're only 5 shots. But you can shoot them in 9s. You know, you can get one that's 9. So if you carry a 9 and that's your backup, you're shooting the same ammunition. So I just love the 38 round. They don't sell them little. They used to sell a little like jacketed round, like it didn't protrude at all. And shit, them would blow we would do the gelatin test with them. That shit would fuck some shit up. But Talons before, when they sold them, when they used to sell the black Talons, or I know that's a company now, but when they first came out with them, the shred vest, that was the baddest round. That shit was shooting through vest. They outlawed them. They only let law enforcement. But I bought so many at the time that I had a bunch of them. And when I was in law enforcement, we still could buy them. Where does corn come from? Well, corn is like part of the 3 sisters in America. You'd go what is it? Corn, green beans, peas, maybe the other one. So all the 3 would grow together. That's interesting because I'll say this: you can definitely see, like I've been studying about Peru, and parts of Peru, you can see when the people that harvested corn came into the corn growers and the corn eaters. You can see when they came into Peru. So there's an interesting history there. But you have to go back to the Omen. And like when you go to this Dresden Codex, which is this is the oldest one. And this is actually not a reproduction. My other one is a reproduction and not this. And here, this is just as much Omen as Mayan. I would say combination of both. But again, even in this, Here we go. So somebody maybe can help me with the three sisters. Was it peas? I forget what the other one was. But each plant helped each other. Here we go. So you have the corn goddess. And then you have Talalak. And what he is doing is he's watering the corn. So to make sure there's not a drought. And these are dates up here. But that's the story here. It's the time of the harvest, and it's blessed by the corn goddess. And then Talalak is actually giving the seeds water. And this is more of actually a early Mayan, but definitely could be tied to the omen. So where does it come from? It's an American thing that was spread around the world. So we know the Americas went to Africa before the Africans and Europeans came over here. And I've said this, when the omen came up through the Mississippi Valley, they went through all the coast and stuff. And they came up the other way as well. I'm wondering if they's the one that showed the Aztec how to go, down into South America. I just wonder. Or one of those previous people to say that there's something there as they went through. They don't want to tell you that though, but that's kind of what you can follow those paths. Green bean, squash is the other one. Yeah, corn, green beans, and squash, and they help each other. They help each other as they grow. One chokes the weeds out, and the bean gets taken up by the corn. It's like anybody been around cornfields, you can hear corn grow. Corn's one of the things where you can physically hear it grow. If anybody's been around a cornfield tonight, you can hear that shit growing. You hear like pop, 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 and it's just the corn growing. So any people grow up on a farm, you know what I'm talking about. So where it comes from, it comes into the Americas very early. They actually now you mentioned it. I guess I did catch a couple recently about other plants that turned into, and that's like watermelon. I remember I was just studying about watermelons. It was another type of plant, and they kind of helped it make into what it is today. And that's the thing, like when you get into when the English came over here and they started eating people, again, their animals weren't here. The type of animals they ate over in Europe. You can study Europe. Europe killed buffaloes. There was buffaloes in Europe and they killed them all. Bisons in America, different animal. But buffalo in Europe, they wiped them all out, as well as their own trees. I mean, yeah, you can say Sherwood Forest, but pretty much the way they stripped America, they'd already stripped Europe that same way. So I can't really say. You get into the Talalak, you get into those kind of things but more than likely it came from a previous plant and they just cultivated them till they got that. But it's definitely, you can see, especially in Peru, you can really see when they come in, which is a kind of interesting kind of thing. And like Edward said, my family been here. So before the Europeans came, and with the skills to go around to Greenland, go up to Nova Scotia, go around. So if you whaling, you can go around. If you chasing whales, you got the technology to chase the whales. And you can look at whalers as being mooring, because moor is a action. You moor is an action. It's an action word. So it's a lot of different ways you can apply that word. But you see the Europeans come in and potatoes, steak and potatoes, they wanted meat. So it's just an interesting phenomenon. The difference in the appetites, not just satisfied with fish. It's like one thing the Australians did is killed all the dodo birds, which was very much like a turkey. They couldn't fly. They would be in shallow water, and they literally was hard to get. They couldn't get away, and the Europeans literally wiped them out in a short amount of time. So that's kind of what their MO is. Same way with the trees. Same way with the buffaloes. I mean, they told Europeans go west and you can kill buffaloes because it hurt some of them tribes. But then again, they didn't want buffaloes going from one part of the country to the other because these people feel they own the land. And that goes right back to the Catholic Church. Documented discovery. Now, I ain't never heard of that the Jesuits put out the documented discovery. It was them popes. And most of the time, the popes was conversos. See, people that give the Jesuit thing, you saying that the Christians really run the Christian church. And that ain't the case. Conversos pretending to be Christians run the Christian church. So it ain't got nothing to do with Jesuits. That's the army. That's their CIA. So you hiding, guys. They hiding shit from you by not telling the truth. And look at all these mugs that push that shit. Look at all of them. Why they push that? That's saying Jesuits ain't no different than when Illuminati came out. It's the same thing. It's the buzzword. Why is my shoulder all jacked up? It's the buzzword. Saying Jesuit just like people used to say Illuminati. It's the same thing. When you hear Jesuit, think of when motherfuckers were just saying Illuminati. It's the exact same thing. It's trying to lead you down a rabbit hole where it ain't the thing you're looking for ain't there. That's why get that book, Queen Isabella. Get that book. It tells the players. And she was successful at what she did. She got all them people up out of her country. She was at war with the Moors. But she got another people up out of her country. And you don't hear people trashing her, do you? They don't like that history. Inquisition was used against them. Inquisition wasn't used against the Jesuits. And then the motherfucker said, well, the Jesuits wasn't created until, later. Christian army was still around. Bishops, cardinals. They did the same thing. You had warrior cardinals, warrior bishops. What is it, the Medicis? Or no, the Borgias. The Borgia was one of the bishops that fought for Isabella before he went back to Rome and became the Pope. He was one of the junior people. These dudes was warriors. And I ain't saying in a good idea. These was the mentality. These was armies. These was Christian armies already into themselves. Mercenaries into their kingdoms, but under the guise of being a Christian. Catholic, excuse me. Under the guise of being a Catholic. If you understand. So we got all these people capping and putting that word out there. So you hear that word, think Illuminati, how that was so played out. It's the same thing. Because the Catholic Church ain't the Catholic Church. That's the guise. That's all it is. It's a guise. It's run by conversos. They are really conversos. And they show it to you. You pay attention, they show it to you. Because when they showed their true self, people went after them. When you say Christian army, do you also mean the Crusaders? Now, this is even before. You could tie it into that. You could tie it into that. Because if you looked at who really what the Templars was doing, the Templars is tied into them. Templars was a brotherhood unto themselves. But they was an early type of Christian army. Richard the Lionheart, he was one of the first that went down there. But what I'm saying is, when you've had these kingdoms, and when they put the church in these kingdoms, what you had is you had the cardinals or the bishops had small armies that protected the kingdom, picked up the taxes or picked up the church dues. And so if somebody attacked, they already had a standing army there. So that's what I mean by Christian army. They already had standing armies this was what they were. They weren't just church people. These mugs was warriors too, that had standing armies that they could call upon. So the most confused people that I've met are Hebrew Israelites, Christians, and Muslims. I don't know what to say about the Hebrew Israelites because the people that run it don't look like the ones that profess it. And let's bring up what was done and how they used my brother and how they attacked my brother. Because I said from the very beginning, a lot of them goat lovers, which is Hebrew Israelites, when they found out that being Hebrew Israelites was out of fashion, what did they do? They jumped into the indigenous community. And they was just as leading the charge when the people was going after Chicago dudes, the Commetans. Who did you have? You had these Israelites that transferred to indigenous. And I was one of the early ones, was like, these ain't nothing but goat lovers that's trying to jump on the wagon train. They jumping on the train, the bandwagon. But it was like they was conversos. They was Hebrew Israelites that came converso indigenous. That's basically what they was. They was still the Hebrew Israelites, but they was coming in under the guise of indigenous because it was the thing. And a bunch of money schemes, money grifters, grafters, money grafters, grifters, same kind of thing, cheating. And so what you saw in community is they dethroned the cheaters out of New York, and then they took their positions. And so the same shit they went to war against a couple summers ago, the same thing, they turned around and did the same scheming and conniving and cheating people. Where's my donations? I want a 5,000 club. I need 5,000 people, and we're going to do this. So do you see why they wanted to push them people off in New York? Because they wanted to take their place to get that bread. And it was a money grab. It was a money grab. Thank you, James. Truth Teller mentioned that particular group of Hebrews in New York that preach about the devil in front of Starbucks. Owned by the devil. But it's funny. It's funny how they pass that stuff. Let me stand up. I ain't stood up in a minute. I need to stand up. I've been sitting for 2.5 hours. See, this is a bad shirt. Look at that shit. That shit is sweet. Nice summer shirt. You ain't gotta pay a lot of money to wear new shit. You ain't gotta pay a lot of money to do it. To look good don't cost a lot. It's just how you wear it. But yeah, that's part of it. I dig that. I ran into them first in Chicago. I was dating a girl, and she broke all that shit down to me. I was like, I had never heard of it, and this was like 2, 3. So that was the first time I ever heard of them. Like it's 2 and 3, 02, 03, something like that. When I dated that chick, what year was that? So my daughter was born in 6, so it maybe been 3, somewhere 3 maybe. And I was dating this chick out of Chicago because I was going to Chicago every weekend. She'd come check me out and we'd kick it. She lived again. They took all those Cabrini Green, the gardens. They took all that shit down and pushed everybody south. So a lot of them neighborhoods, some decent looking houses, they put a lot of the gang people in these neighborhoods. And I was kicking it with a chick that lived back in there, which was closer to Michigan. You know, as soon as I got in town, like you just take 94 and start going over to Midway. I can't think of the name of the highway, but you take 94 and then you head like going to Midway Airport. And then there's a subdivision like before you get to Midway. Because remember, Chicago got 2 airports. Midway is the smaller one, which is closer. It's closer to, it would be closer, you know, for me to go to Midway coming from Kalamazoo compared to trying to go to the bigger airport, which is still, you know, not hard to get to. But but that's my point. Is like you got to start making shit up. And people, religion. People like to be part of stuff. You put on that Power Ranger outfit, and some people get power from that. Some people, it's like, okay, they get the juice from being the Power Ranger outfit. And I watched that same thing in the Nation of Islam. I watched that same thing. And the Nation of Islam did some good. It took a lot of junkies, took them dudes out of prison, but there's also using them people out of prison for, being thugs still, being muscle. So that's the whole story. And that's what the gangs did. When you look at OG, Mac OG, whatever it is, he did the same thing that the Nation of Islam did. He took the gangs from the West Coast. He worked for the FBI. He went into the prisons in New York and did what the Nation of Islam did. And then they let him take control of that prison. And so they became the muscle. You got the FBI running that prison basically and letting them commit crimes in the prison, extorting, getting money in the prison under the Bloods. They get out, they push that shit to the West Coast. You notice they didn't try that shit in Chicago. I mean, people forget about Chicago gangs. Chicago black gangs actually went back to even before the Panthers, even before the Blackstone Rangers. That shit went back to Capone times. Like I can't even think of the old gangster movie about black gangsters in Chicago gangs. Give you a little history. Nah, maybe I should. Nah, I don't think I'll share that. But I've told the story. I knew a gangster that worked in Capone. She was known for slapping Sonny Capone. But she was part of black gangsters. She owned a bar during those times. She was a melanated sister. Owned a bar. So they don't tell those stories. So and I'll say this. Chicago is hit with that Saturn energy all the time. It's just like most people only get it in the weekends. They turn it on. They're starting to turn it on now. And by midnight Saturday, we're in the peak of the Saturn energy all over the country. You know how people will be off and act on the weekends. Well, that's on Chicago every day, that type of energy. And what I noticed about Chicago cats is they're very cliquey anyway. And so these cats are naturally cliquey because of this gang kind of stuff. It's kind of, in some ways, a cultural kind of thing. But I've come across, I've known a lot of people. My cousin actually lived in Chicago where we go see him. And it was like, but we knew him. So it was cool. Because we tell him we coming, he tell people this, you seen this from Michigan, these are my people, leave my people alone. So just respect kind of thing. So the way things work. But that's a funny mentality they kind of have. I noticed that. And I can't say, but I just noticed that as I got into my 30s and 40s, 20s, 30s and 40s, I just noticed that. Working in Chicago every weekend, I was seeing that there was that kind of mentality brothers have. So, and like my son and I was having just this deep conversation about, the claudine theory, how they took us off the farms, put us, they put us in all these high rises. And at first it was jobs, but then they went after the black woman far as welfare. And we had at least 4 generations of welfare. 4 generations of welfare where they told the woman, you don't need a man. You had kids. You have children. We will take care of the children. We'll give them health. We'll give you food stamps and we'll give you cash. And we'll give you Section 8. As long as you keep the motherfucker out the house or sneak him in the house. And I say Claudine because remember when Claudine and welfare, they couldn't even have a little cheap TV that probably in the 60s or early 70s cost about $20. They couldn't even have an iron. They want to cut off your welfare for having a TV and an iron and a toaster. She had to hide her toaster, her TV, and her iron. Because if you had those little things, you got to say where they came from. And they would cut your welfare for those little things. But they did that for 4 generations. And mostly Europeans was on welfare, mostly Europeans. But when they get to Ronald Reagan and they create this character, the welfare queen, they don't talk about all them poor people in Mississippi. In the war that was done on us, they bring us off the farms to work in these factories. We help World War II. And instead of honoring us for helping them win World War II and keeping these production places going, they decided that they wasn't going to make enough profit by 1980. So it was better for them, and they was allowed to move these factories out of the black neighborhoods. And then they replace it with crack. Then you got Clinton, and you got the man in Biden is, mass incarceration. Almost incarceration to the point like they did back in Reconstruction when they criminalized freedom. And that's the loophole of the law. So it wasn't a win. The law wasn't a win. When slavery could still be allowed if you did something and you was a convict, you could still be a slave. That was new. And then the white league goes in and they criminalize being free. The only time they can't fuck with you if you on, sharecropping property or you're on the plantation. You can't just be walking. You walking and they ain't on one of them, you getting 30 days. You got to work for them. And then if they let you out and the same thing over again, they rearrest you in a week or so, and you got to do 30 more days. And they were doing children like this in mass numbers. Yes, the natives did get pulled off the reservation, and they sent their children to these Christian schools, and they were treated harshly. But they treated indigenous people, they put them in prisons. They didn't hide them under the guise of schools. Because even a school, even though they're brutalizing you, you still got a little bit of freedom. They wasn't doing that to natives. They put young people in prisons and made them work all day. So that's the real slavery. That's slavery. That's the real slavery. It was Reconstruction. And that shit slaves was still in the 60s. So that's why this Juneteenth shit is a fucking joke. Texas still had slaves in the 60s. Mississippi, Alabama still had slaves in the 60s because of Reconstruction. So why are we celebrating Juneteenth when slavery didn't end? Slavery went on damn near another 100 years. And you had another motherfucker said we should have Slave Remembrance Day. Did anybody hear about that? Motherfucker went in front of everybody and said he wanted to do Slave Remembrance Day. Because that's the thing in the mind. They want that mind locked. Oh, and I've been wanting to bring this up. I don't know if y'all remember the TV program, and I said this before I saw the program. If they gave people reparations, there was a movie. I forget, maybe on Netflix. And it was showing melanated people and Europeans together. And the little European boy said, well, you guys only got your money from reparations. You was giving your money. It was reparation shaming. Even before they was given, they showed a movie where reparations shaming. You people only got your money because they gave it to you. Reparations wasn't even given, but they wanted to put that psyop in your head to them Europeans. That you only got ahead is because just like they took affirmative action and turned it into females. Supposed to protect melanated people to give them opportunities. Clinton turned that around and said European women is minorities too. That ain't what it was made for. But do you see how they switched it? Their women didn't need help like that. They're still European. You mean Claudine? Yes, Claudine. Maybe I'm saying the wrong word. Claudine, yes, with Diane Carroll, James, and Joe. Yeah, Claudine, excuse me. The Claudine theory. If I said the wrong name, thank you, Anise. Thank you for correcting. Yeah, Claudine. It's the Claudine theory. You know, took one of the prettiest sisters at the time, and made her look broke down, not made up, so she's believable living in there. The funniest line is her daughter comes home drunk, and she's like, I was just with Leroy. He was teaching me how to hold my liquor and have conversation. Hold my liquor and have conversation. That's the funniest shit of the movie. That was the reason why she went to the club and got drunk. Her man was going to teach her to hold her liquor and have conversation. The Japanese received reparation and no one didn't shame them. Absolutely. Absolutely. Germany has to pay reparation to Jewish faith people. And that many Jewish faith people didn't get killed by Germans. Americans gave reparations to Jewish faith people. Germany still paid Jewish faith people. Now, you think that's real, that many of them suffered, where Germany still got to pay them 80, 90 years later? Americans pay reparations. We give, I've said this before, we give something like, it's only 8 million people there. We've given all this money that's just been given out. The American taxpayers have given Jewish faith people, and there's only 8 million people in Israel, almost equivalent to, I think it's $25 million each. The money we've given them in the last 2 years, the last year, maybe last 14, 15 months, has been equivalent to 25 million per person. Enough to take any Israeli out of poverty, any of them. But yet they won't do that to Americans. And this is the thing. One thing that Jim Crow Joe, Slow Joe wants to do is he wants to squeeze these companies. And you see what the 1% get they talking heads. It stops innovation. Why do you think people don't create shit in China? Because there's no innovation. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. You make everybody rich, the society is better, and everybody's a lot more creative and imaginative. It ain't just a society motherfuckers not doing nothing. They know better than that. You make everybody rich. Everybody becomes prideful where they live. Crime will go down because everybody has everything they need. And we have a country that can do that. That John Travolta movie where it shows the brothers being in charge, that's kind of how it is. But they try to show the movie that we would treat them the way they treat us. That's what the movie's point is. That if we was in the position, we would treat them like they treat us. You give everybody 20 million, which America could do, the country would still be moving. Because people like doing shit. There's people that do like to work. But see, they want to go to work where they ain't got to work with bullshit people. Everybody going in and everybody got money. You can't be an asshole to these people. These people can be selective on what they want to do. You got these corporations and assholes run them and hire assholes, which goes back to how it is now. Why would a person want to go back to working with the assholes and be hassled by stupidest motherfuckers in the world that think they got a little power because they work and they're a supervisor? I was a quality control supervisor. Matter of fact, I was the lab manager. I had about 15 people. You think they hated me? You think they was hating on me? Shit, I had engineers stealing my paperwork. I ain't have the regular people coming in there because these engineers knew some shit I was keeping that they could get caught up into. I was stupid and I was keeping the shit in, writing the shit in. And one of these engineers stole my book, destroyed it. And I was too stupid. I didn't back it up in the computer. That wasn't a regular person. And I was doing my job. That was part of my job. And I had a person steal a couple of years of my work like that, destroy it. So that's what they want to make you think. They want you to think birthing of nation, where we in the Senate eating chicken and just laughing and shit. You make everybody rich. It's more innovation. It's more people trying to do things to make life better. More people creating. It's not the opposite. Neighborhood's gonna look better because everybody got money to live in a nice house, keep up their yards. Crime would go down, and they know it would go down because that's a reality already in place. So they know the shit works. But they do that, there ain't no more slaves. Because slave is a mental thing. But they want you to really think that if everybody wake up with $10 million, everybody just gonna buy Rolexes, everybody gonna get rims, everybody just want name brands, and all dudes is gonna do is just wear the shit and walk around. Our men and women ain't gonna never do nothing, which they know is a lie. They know it's a lie. Because all of a sudden you can do the best education, you can find the best research. All that opens up too. So people would be more innovative. So that's a lie of capitalism. That's a lie. Because capitalism comes with elitists. And that's the wicked thing about it. It is meant to always have an upper class. That's the problem with capitalism. It's always somebody supposed to be on top. It ain't equal. It ain't equal. It ain't never meant to be equal. Sorry, I got to sit sideways, but it seems to help my legs being at have to give me a little footstool or something. But it's a little more comfortable for me. So please forgive me for not being centered to you. I don't understand. Other folks suffer and they receive reparation of laws as passed in their favor. But us, when we want to be compensated for our suffering, we get shamed. That is bullshit. It is. Asians ain't even being attacked and they pass laws against them being attacked. Like I said, you come with me and we'll go over to where all them Hmong live in St. Paul. And we'll take a camera around. You tell me you come to Minneapolis, I will take you over to St. Paul. We'll take a movie camera and we'll go over to where them Hmong live. And we'll see who's fucking with them people. I guarantee you, you go over there and jump on an old person, you'll be dead by the time you get up out of there. As I've said before, they only buy Asian cars. They have used car salesmen in the hood that just sell to them. And they use their Asian cars. That is how tight-knit they are. They don't drive American cars. And I'm going, my neighbors couldn't speak English at all. They was Vietnamese. We'd have big, they have had stoves in the garage when they gave these big parties. These people owned a restaurant for years. So when they had the big like celebrations coming up, cars parked everywhere, nothing but Asian cars. So I don't think anybody gonna call Cap. I got a little Hmong girl live right over here. She lives in affordable housing right here. I don't know if it's her sister. She babysits another girl that lives a couple buildings over. She drives a new Acura. She's getting not new, but newer Acura. This girl, I don't think she got a car. Her family come get her. Like this Hmong here, and I've told this story before. When they moved this girl in, you know what they did? It was like 10 cars and trucks total. They moved her in within hours. 10 cars and some trucks moved her in within hours. This is how they move. Now, my neighbor over here, that she's on crystal meth and she about to have a baby. She having her baby today, the second. Not 10 cars moving her. Either her brother or one of her nephews is moving. You see? You feel me? This girl is about to have a baby today. She got 2 dudes helping her. None of the baby's daddies. Now, I don't know who she's pregnant by now. I don't think she'd know. It's like 5 dudes she could be pregnant by. But my point is, there ain't a bunch of people stepping up. None of the baby daddies is stepping up to help move. So do you see how different cultures move? Thank you, Anise. So this is, you know, I hear this stuff and it ain't happening here. And we got a large Hmong community. We got about 600,000 Hmong and Asians. It's more of them than there are indigenous people. There's more of them than natives. This casino, that's the richest casino, only got 490 people. Now, more people live on the casino, depending on how you relate it. They got apartments over there too. It's not just people got land. So that native tribe ain't that big. I don't think there's in the whole state 600,000 natives. But there's that many Hmong. They brought 250,000 over here in like 80. Like right when the Vietnamese or the Vietnam, the full pullout of when Pol Pot got defeated in Colombia. And so from 70, so when the Vietnam War ended from 75 to 80, they brought 200,000 people here to Minneapolis. And black folks in this state is about 250,000. So I'm not just talking, I'm telling you, people ain't bothering them people. You see them everywhere. So that's a lie. And like Anise said, where's our laws? They ain't even never really been an anti-lynching law. Unless they use it against Kevin Garnett for a fight at school. That's what they did to Kevin Garnett. He got in a fight at school and they got him for anti-lynching. They ran him up out of South Carolina. That's why he ended up going to Chicago. Went to King. I think he went to Chicago King. But he's from South Carolina. And so what was done to him was almost as worse as what was done to Iverson. It was over. Iverson didn't go to a certain school. That's why Iverson was put in prison, because he didn't go to the local school. Hey, doctor, what did it say? I saw a little bit of it. Oh, you take care, Anise. Thank you for joining me. I'm about to kick off. 3 hours is about enough. Hey, what's good? Hey, Dr. Monster Stroke. Thank you for joining me. But you coming to the end of it, because I'm going to have to click off too. I couldn't sleep last night, so I ended up sleeping until about 1 o'clock today. It took me a minute to fall asleep. I didn't fall asleep till it was daytime. So I'm going to have to get some sleep tonight. I got a couple things to do. So, again, I ain't said nothing personal about anybody. I don't hate anybody. I don't have any hate in my heart. There's not anybody I wouldn't help. When I hand out food, it's mostly the European folks. That's my area. And I'll say this. It's a shame what they've done to old people. It really is. There are people that had good jobs, but yet their pension ain't enough for them not to be poor and hungry. And these are Europeans that worked all their lives. I sit there and I talk to these people, and these people got a little bit of pension. And then they get, whatever the old people money called. It ain't enough. These people is hungry. And this is sad. It's mind-blowing. That these people, some of them is like Vietnam age people that lived during the Vietnam War times. And now it's old people, if their spouse died or something, without food being taken to them, they'd be hungry. Because it's a thing to push for children to eat. It ain't really a thing to push for old people to eat. So anybody says that, I don't like European folks, it ain't about that. I don't like their culture. Because it's a culture based on evil, wicked. I take it back, not evil, wicked. It's a wicked culture. From its very inception when they came here, nothing but wickedness was done. Now, no, You may be watching this and this ain't you. It's a sad world we live in. Yes, James. And any European person say, no, I had nothing to do with that. No, I agree. You didn't. But the culture in itself needs to be turned around, needs to be definitely reversed. And the thing is if power is changed, that's why the shaming of all the black administrators, that's a shaming to show you that we let you be the mayor, we let you be the chief of police, and crime is just crazy. And it's like you put European chief of police and European mayors in, we don't have these troubles. That ain't true in New York, is it? So that's a psyop. And that's their thing is, we become in charge, we'll treat them the way they treat us. That is their argument. We'll just do the reversed. That John Travolta movie, that's the point of that movie. If things are reversed, we be like them. And they know that ain't true. When you go into why a lot of European children was flocking and running to the indigenous people's camps, they was treated like slaves. When these Puritans came over here, the Pilgrims, these Puritans, they treated women and children like slaves. So women was running away from their asses too. What would you rather do? Be part of nature, hunt, fish, gather, or be having this damn man beat you and make you toil for him? This is capitalism. This is that shit they brought from England. And so children was running away from that shit. Women was running away from that shit. They don't want to tell that history. Because they saw a better way of life. And they destroyed that better way of life by force. And so you got ABL capping for them motherfuckers saying you shouldn't teach that. They want to put a name to that, to their wickedness on taking over this country. The murder, the slaughter. And then you got ABL saying, you guys didn't fight? You guys didn't fight before? Wasn't fighting over the same things. Wasn't fighting over the same things. Read when they first came over here, we gladly gave them land on the coast, and it was never enough. We give them land, and then they want to put little fences up and say, if we want to go through the land to cut through to go fishing, all of a sudden we can't go. The queen owns the land now, and they'll fight you, but I gave you that. Well, we own it now. That is how ungrateful ass was done to us. That's the ungratefulness was done. That's how they did the rules. What did the treaty say? Long as the mountain is risen and the sky is blue, the treaty would last. And they found gold in the Black Hills, where it's sacred, where the strongest feminine energy in the world is, where it probably one time was a Stargate, it appears. That's why them Masons is up there. Them 4 Mason heads is up there. That's why Crazy Horse is up there too. Blocking energies. So I guess I'm gonna cut it there. And just a little as I finish, I'll just say this. It's funny, I was walking, my son is with his friend Big Mike, and Big Mike, like my son is damn near 6'7" now. He's about 250 and he's only 18. And Big Mike is probably 6'5". Big Mike is probably 320. So we're all going somewhere, and the guy stopped me and he's like, sir, how much do your bodyguards charge me? It's like, how much do you charge for the bodyguards? I'm like, I kind of giggled. They look like, who's he talking about? But that's what the guy asked me, like, how much do you charge for the bodyguards? I'm like, do you need a bodyguard? So as I wrap up the show, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for the future people to check it out. And I'll give you a little time walking information. So Mora was it was a saying. It was a saying almost like saying good morning or how you doing. It kind of encompasses all those kind of greetings. So it all starts with a gentle sadness. They came from their original homeland, but they knew that they had exact number of years and days before they would disappear off the earth as a culture and a lifestyle. But the civilization that they created would build to a gentle love. They lived in the Creator's day and knew how to separate cycles in the great serpent. I am another yourself. Thank each and every one of you for coming in and watching me. I appreciate it. Anybody catches it in the future. All right, this is the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am 8 Wind is Timeless. Till we meet again.